My bad. My bad. Again, peace and love. What up, though? What's popping? What's cracking? What's happening in time 9, time 10? Again, we in this piece like fish grease with, a similar topic that, we discuss quite often over here because I have a need to, you know, get rid of the pseudo information that's constantly passed around throughout, our community. When I say our community, I'm speaking to the brothers and sisters who follow the grassroots conscious community, which is very different now than what it was, decades ago. And where is it at? Here we go, right here. What we got? We got the free thinkers versus the bloggers versus the scholars and the truth tellers. Who actually makes the money? Who produces the facts? And which one do the majority of people believe and support? And we know what it is, right? The majority of the people are sheeple. They're the sheeps. They're not the black sheeps. Like, they tend to follow whatever is the current topic and, current narrative and agenda that's being pushed based off of views. People want views. They want to follow. And so whatever they have to say, or broadcast, they're willing to do that. And over here, I don't do that based on for several reasons. Like, I have to be accountable for the things that I say and I do, as to where the average or other people who broadcast to you all, they know, for the most part, they won't be held accountable for the things that they say and what they promote and what they support. And they don't care, obviously, right? Obviously, because when the facts come out and the truth comes out, most of them won't double back and say, well, I was wrong about this, that, and the third, right? So I'm going to do, I'm not saying they have to make apologies, because it could be a situation where they were being fed misinformation, which is, for the most part, is what's happening. But those of us who know very well some of the information that they're pumping and pushing out here, on these social media streets, most of them will never be accountable for anything that they said that was incorrect. The vast majority of them don't vet the information that they broadcast to the people. And again, that's not something that I do, right? So you put me over here, you know what I'm saying, with the scholars and the truth tellers, like to be a free thinker, like thinking is free. Now, maybe sometime in the future, your thoughts won't be free. But to say that you're a free thinker, that means nothing. Not, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not for me. I'm not attempting to disrespect or clown anybody with that. But a free thinker, like, what the fuck is that? I'm asking. And to me, it is, again, water used to be free. And in some areas, you're able to get a sip of water for free. You see, but as far as your thoughts, that's something that you do have control over, right? Maybe you don't. But just because somebody is a free thinker, it doesn't make me have to respect any of their thoughts. Like, so what? So what? Feelings is hurt. I don't care, right? I just don't. And when it comes to the bloggers, y'all already know what it is. Whatever is, again, the hot current topic is what they're going to broadcast to the people, regardless to whether or not it's factual information or not. And this goes across the board. This goes from your political people who sitting in various seats. Like, for instance, we've been discussing the Congresswoman, Anna Paulina Luna, like, she told the people more than 72 hours ago that within 36 hours, she was going to release this new evidence, right, concerning the Tory Lanez conviction in order to possibly grant him a pardon by way of Gavin Newsom. And immediately, I already told y'all, I'm not saying that he won't receive a pardon, but any new factual information coming to light is not going to happen. And anybody who has researched that case, you see, I know what I'm talking about. But if you didn't research the case and you're just following, peace God, you just following what other people are saying, like, you might as well believe what's on the screen, right? Now let's go back to 2020 when, peace be upon him, George Floyd was murdered by the guy who's on the screen. Now you see the picture. This photograph, this meme was not created by anybody who is within what we call the conscious community. This was a meme that was created by the the neo-Nazi skinhead people, right? In order to try to create a distraction or diversion, which is what they do. These are the moves that they've been making for decades before I was even born, right? That's right. Derek Caveman, for sure. But what bothered me about this is some of my own brothers and sisters was passing this meme around about this cat, saying that that's not the same guy. That's not the officer who kneeled on George Floyd's neck for more than 9 minutes, right? This is someone else. Like, just this the shit I'm talking about. Like, how does this serve us? It was actually a disservice to us, because again, when you guys do this type of stuff, what it does is it's a discredit to our movements that already exist. When you calling yourself a Pan-African or a Moor or a Hebrew Israelite or whatever it is, and you come out with this type of information that your ass found online somewhere, right? Like, somebody else who favors this guy on the screen is going to take the fall for him. For what? Again, I'm asking. This shit has to make sense. You just can't get out here saying crazy stuff and then expect for me to not rebut it or counter it, because I'm going to rebut it and I'm going to counter it. This is what I do. So this is trash. This is garbage can juice trash is what this is, right? No more than, again, as I told you, your people who sit in these government officials, they lie too. And unfortunately, many of us have been bamboozled or randazzled by the lie, and we begin to regurgitate it, which again, helps continue to destroy and stagnate our movements. Like this guy right here, Trump, Thump, Orange guy, whatever y'all want to call him, literally put out a photograph and, tried to make the president of South Africa believe that this photograph that he put out on him was burial grounds of the Dutch, or if you will, the white South African farmers who were being murdered, when in actuality, the photo that he showed was the burial site of Black women who were raped and burned alive in the Congo. Again, he was claiming that it was the burial site of the white farmers in South Africa, who he basically gave reparations to. I don't call it what you want. His executive order was a form of reparations for Dutch people who invaded South Africa and implemented apartheid against the indigenous people of South Africa. So it's quite a few of melanated people who ran out and voted for this guy and jumped on a team of the Republicans. And let me state this: whoever sits in that Oval Office and does not balance the books by way of cutting the checks that they owe us, I'm going to drag them. I don't care if they're independent, Republican, or a Democrat. It makes me no difference. So he's not special. Me dragging him is the only thing that makes him special is he tends to lie, maybe 50% more than the average politician does, right? This is what he's known for, and this is what he has done, and this is what he does. And this is just more proof of the type of activity that he participates in, which is he playing your face. And these people are not about to play in my face, and I don't address it and make attempts to hold them accountable, no different than for days now. I've been going in on the Megan Thee Stallion, Tory Lanez situation, right? With him, coming out with another story as to who actually shot her. When in the beginning, most of y'all who side with Tory was saying that the girl didn't even get shot. So now you're in agreement that she actually was shot, but Tory didn't do it, right? But like I said, it only gives light to your ignorance and how lazy y'all is. You see what I'm saying? Those who support this shit. Because the case is not a classified case. So that means that anybody can purchase the transcripts from that particular trial. And in most cases, you won't even have to do that because it wasn't a federal case. So there were cameras in the courts, right? There were reporters in the courtroom reporting step by step what was happening during that particular trial, which again is the very reason why, based upon the evidence that, he was convicted, right? He wasn't only convicted, he was also denied an appeal. So now his only choice, the only choice that he has, or option that he has left is to receive a pardon by way of Gavin Newsom. And again, now whether Gavin Newsom is willing to muddy his waters even more, I don't know. I don't know what his choice will be, right? But I know these people are greedy, so Daystar Peterson, he may be able to, pay the California governor off. I don't know. I don't know, what the governor, how shady he is or not. But that's his only option, right? On top of the fact that he's made millions of dollars since he's been incarcerated. So he has the money to hire as many attorneys as he wished, pay off as many people as possible to make statements concerning, whatever, just to label it as new evidence. And you have to be careful with this terminology that y'all using with this term, new evidence. If it's new evidence, it means that it has been screened, right? It has been screened by officials who have the capacity and ability to give him a pardon. And the only person, again, who can do that is Gavin Newsom. Now, with this being a state case, very well, the governor will be the person who pardons him, right? So we bring Trump into the picture and he's able to pay Trump for a pardon, that would be, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it would be fraudulent, right? Very. It wouldn't make a lot of sense. What'd you say? Let me put this on the screen. American Psycho. I don't know. I know I'm just going according to what actually was unveiled during the trial. And it's a lot of information that people aren't aware of, number one. Then you have people who are judging him based off of his talent and his music, and they look at him as being a better hip-hop artist than Megan. And I'm not saying everybody. I'm saying those who, again, are, standing on the fact that they believe that he didn't commit this crime, right? And 10 years, like, yeah, he was facing more time than that, right? And when you are in that type of predicament, you want all the I's dotted and all the T's crossed. Whatever you can do to avoid that fate, you're going to do. Now, I'm not saying taking a stand, whether or not he would have got on that stand and testified, that would have helped him, right? But again, you're gonna, whatever information that you have at that time, you're going to tap your attorneys and let them know, hey, we need to, this right here has to be in the files. This right here, whatever it is, right? So let's deal with this evidence that's supposed to be new evidence right quick, right? I mentioned this the other evening when we were live. I talked about the guy, what is his name? James Bradley or Bradley James, who was the driver and bodyguard for Kelsey Harris during the Megan Thee Stallion, Tory Lanez trial, right? This guy, see, you have to look at it. Even the people united who had that press conference with Tory Lanez's dad or whatnot, the statement that they made, that they labeled as new evidence concerning his bodyguard slash driver, and him hearing or overhearing Kelsey Harris say to her husband that she was the one that shot Megan Thee Stallion. This is a hearsay, you understand, which is not admissible in the court. This is merely him saying, well, I heard her say such and such and such and such. Again, the same way you and I wasn't there that night to witness what actually happened, the bodyguard driver was not there. So people are, again, passing around false information that has no relevance at the end of the day, which is why I was easily unbothered by the fact that Congresswoman Luna, who is a supporter of the QAnon, you know what I'm saying? She's a QAnon quack, right? I knew she wasn't going to come within 36 hours and give y'all shit, to the point that I was like, oh, I bet a rack. I bet you $1,000 it don't happen. And it did not happen. And nobody accepted that bet. You see what I'm saying? The same way nobody has stepped up to debate me about the neo-Nazi skinhead racist satire about Michelle Obama being born a male. See, people love to gossip and you know, follow the other sheep and say shit that they don't have to be accountable for, you know, but nobody wants to face the fire. Again, if you know, I'm not a fan of the Obamas no more than I'm a fan of a lot of these entertainers. Outside of, I'm entertained by some of their music and their films, right? And I appreciate, you know, their philanthropy, right? But outside of that, I have no reason to defend any of these people. What makes me get involved in these situations is the fact that promoting this false information is a bad look for the conscious community. No matter what branch of the tree that you know what I'm saying, swing from within this knowledge of self arena, it's a bad look for us to be going around regurgitating false information. Which means you might as well go back to being, you know, a Negro or a colored, or, you know what I'm saying? You might as well go back to that shit. If you're going to participate, you know, in the games and the falsehoods that they still participate in, then what makes you different? It's no different than you saying, you know, you a free thinker. Like I said, that's nothing. You can freely think all the fuck you want to. It doesn't mean to think your thoughts are factual. You can believe them. You can believe it all you want to. That, you know what I'm saying, has no bearings on me. But again, as a whole, as a people, again, who claim to have knowledge of self and who have followed some of the elders and ancestors who we consider to be scholars, like, they wouldn't participate in that shit. Peace be upon them. Richard Gregory, who we call Dick Gregory, or Dr. Dick Gregory, before he passed, he was asked a question concerning Michelle Obama's sex, and he spazzed. You know what I'm saying? He like, what he basically, he sounded like me, or I sound like him. Like, what the fuck is that? That's something that, you know what I'm saying, I don't even have to respect. Somebody who's going to try to take away the sex of a person, that's no different than Dwayne Wade letting his son, you know, take these hormonal drugs and have these surgeries. I'm not sure if he had the surgery. I heard they were going to let the young man have the surgery. But again, that does not change his sex. Like I've said multiple times, he's still a male, regardless to how many hormone drugs he takes. If, you know, they've allowed him to dismember his manhood, he's still gonna be a male. He is still not gonna be able to produce a child by way of a womb because he does not have one. Like, I've grown beyond tired of, you know, the asinine arguments that we keep having and people getting upset with me because I'm telling the truth versus somebody who is having free thoughts versus someone who is a blogger, right? Now, let's talk about some of these celebrities who, you know, also put this false information out here. Again, the people like the fake information. The people have never favored the truth. If people favored the truth, then, by now we would have our sovereignty back, right? We would have our nationalities being offered. You see what I'm saying? We would have reparations, restitution, compensation, however you like the label. We would have those things, but the vast majority of the people, don't like the truth. So the bloggers are going to pick at the things that excite the people and that the people are in favor of, which is the madness, the lies, the satire, right? The racism. This is what they broadcast, and it's apparently what brings them a following. So why would they join me, you see what I'm saying, and begin to tell the truth? They don't care about the truth, right? The lie is more, you say entertaining. He says the lie is more entertaining. I say the lie is more appealing than the truth. Which, again, I don't care about that. The truth has to be told if we're going to have any change for the better for us as a people. But the more we entertain the lies, the further away from the truth we get. The further away from solving a problem or having any remedy or recourse. You see what I'm saying? You're moving far away from that because you're more attracted to the lie. And a lot of people, I'm going to tell you what gets under my skin. When I'm on social media and I put some truths up and people laugh, like, it's just so fucking immature. You see what I'm saying? My thing is this. If you think what I'm saying is not the truth, then you challenge it. But that's not what happens. People, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's funny? To me, is nothing funny about, again, a man shooting at a woman. And like I've said multiple times, I don't believe that we're going back to Daystar Peterson and Megan Pete. I don't think that he directly aimed that gun at her. You see what I'm saying? I think that he aimed the gun intentionally at the ground, right? Which, what do you think is going to happen when you aim a gun? You can shoot at the ground and end up injuring yourself, right? I've caught a ricochet before. I know exactly what a ricochet bullet feels like. And those bullets weren't meant for me. It was someone shooting at someone else. And I'm a 6th grader walking to school. And I catch a ricochet on Weaver Avenue. And as I'm running, I'm hearing the bullets hit the fence that I'm running alongside of, right? So the bullets that ricochet from the fence went across my back. I don't see shit funny about that. Especially when we deal with the facts. So let's look at some of the facts right quick. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna deal with this violence that's committed, you know what I'm saying, against our women and children that some of you think is a joke. Those bullets that were fired that evening, one of them bullets could have ended up taking that woman's life. One of those bullets could have ended up hitting the girl, Kelsey Harris, and taking her life as well. These are things that happen 5 times a day, every day, to melanated women and girls. 5, again, and we're dealing with the year 2020 when the incident happened. 5 melanated women and or girls were murdered every day in the year of 2020. And when I use that as a rebuttal against the people who are cheerleading and nut hugging Tory Lanez, a lot of you dum-dums ask me, well, what does that have to do with it? And it lets me know at that moment that you lost. You very incompetent. Because it has everything to do with it. Everything. Everything, especially when we look at the statistics. And the statistics tell us that Most of these, out of those 5 women and girls who were killed on a daily basis in the year 2020, most of them were killed by guns. So again, them bullets that he was spraying around because he was drunk, in the midst of 2 women who, allegedly he was having intimate, he was intimate with both women, which is what is being said. But thus far, probably because I haven't looked, but thus far, the woman who was intimate with him was Megan Thee Stallion. And a lot of people have it backward, right? A lot of people are saying that Megan and the girl Kelsey fell out because Kelsey was dating Tory Lanez first, and that is false. You can look at pictures. It's pictures of Megan and Daystar Peterson hanging out together. It's pictures of them on a red carpet with him, motioning towards her buttocks, right? Now, whether or not he double backed and began to have intimate affairs with her best friend, I mean, that's irrelevant to the fact. The same way a lot of people will say, well, due to the fact that Megan Thee Stallion lied to Gail King about having or being intimate with Tory Lanez, it messes up her credibility, right? And what I have to say about that is this. Being that as of now and during the trial, she told the truth about her being intimate with Tory Lanez, her having a sexual relationship with him, right? So does it make a difference that, okay, now we know that she, was intimate with him? Does that, give reason to, that makes it okay for him to shoot her because they had sex, they had intercourse? Like, that don't even make sense. Whether or not him and her was intimate or not, it doesn't, to me, for one, that's nobody's business. Let me say that, right? That's really nobody's business. Number 2, let's deal with Gail King for a minute, right? As I've said multiple times, if it was me and I put myself in Megan's shoes, right? And I'm on national television being interviewed by Gail King, and Gail King asked me if I was intimate with this guy, Tory. I would have cussed Gail out and I wouldn't have answered the question. That's how I would have handled that. I wouldn't have had to lie to her because I would have cussed her out and I wouldn't have answered the question, because to me that was very disrespectful. It was just as disrespectful as Gail King post Kobe Bryant passing away and her interviewing Leslie, what's her name? Lisa Leslie, she was a good friend of Kobe Bryant. Gail King is out of pocket. Gail King asked Lisa about the white girl in Colorado who he was accused of sexually assaulting. And everybody had a problem with that, right? Like, Gail, why would you ask her that question? You out of pocket. But when it comes to Megan, her asking Megan, who was shot again by Tory Lanez, whether or not she had intercourse with him, like, you out of pocket then. The same way you was out of pocket when you asked Lisa Leslie about an alleged sexual assault that Kobe is gone. He passed over already in the flesh. So in both cases, Gail King was being very disrespectful in my eyes on the same level. This shit just don't make no sense. You have to, it has to make sense. And to me, again, it was easy for people. What Snoop Dogg called Gail King? A dog head, something, or whatever he said to her. I felt the same way about her when she asked that one young woman about, again, if a guy shot me, I'm not going to embarrass myself even more by getting on national TV and saying, yes, I had intercourse with him. Does that change the fact that he shot me? Does that make it okay that he shot me? No, I'm going to cuss her ass out and ask her, do you have any more questions? That's how that's going to go. I'm not going to sit up and say, well, no. And I'm not going to say yes. But again, that's a very traumatizing situation that I hope, many other women and girls don't have to face. But unfortunately, again, it's happening 5 times a day, every day. I don't know what the statistics is for 2025 thus far, or what the statistics are for 2024. But again, in the year 2020, when this happened, while COVID was going on, just imagine. I would think, quite possibly that the number has increased instead of, decreasing. This shit is a mess. A mess. And this guy right here on the screen. Let's get him off the screen. I don't. What is it? Neither one of the Bush, Daddy Bush or the son Bush, did not lie as much as this guy lies, right? This guy lies so much. I just, but again, it doesn't have a big effect on me because I don't play their games. For real, what it is to put an end to our suffering. There's a few things that we can do, which is don't do business with these people. Right? We know USA Inc. is the largest, wealthiest corporate entity, barring none, on this mother plane. China right up on their heels, but at the end of the day, they created their own demon. They created China. They put China in a position to be on their heels. They funded China. They allowed China to buy their bonds. They allowed China to come over here and purchase some of their largest, wealthiest corporate entities, such as Johnson Controls. You ever heard of Johnson Controls? Right? China owns 60% of Johnson Controls at this very moment, maybe even more to date. If that particular nation state known as China was so bad, why would you let them come over here and begin to buy up your shit? Why would you let them be able to purchase your bonds? They all in the bed together. That's the only logical answer. And it's not just a logical answer. That's what can be proven. Everything else is just a bunch of propaganda to confuse the people, which is easy to do, very easy to do, as we can see. Very easy to do. And it's being done every day. Every day. What is this? Okay, I went to the wrong thing. My bad, y'all. Boom, 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 boom. Nope, that ain't it either. I ain't gonna be on here all day. Tomorrow gonna be the grand finale to this, because it's not like we gonna stop having this discussion, but really, I could stop having a discussion, because again, the Congresswoman said 36 hours they was gonna expose. You know what I'm saying? They was gonna come out, you know what I'm saying, with this new information or whatnot, and we've yet to see it. New evidence, excuse me. Just, come to find out that the Ring camera footage that, she was talking about, and who what's the woman name? The girl that do the whole walk and all of that used to date Kanye West and all of these other cats who capping right now for Tory Lanez. The Congresswoman said she's good friends with her, and she's taking this to the governor, Gavin Newsom, and in 36 hours, again, she said she was going to release this new evidence, and yet to do it. Yet to do it. I mean, as far as who gave her the information, you know what I'm saying? It don't too much matter. If you gonna tell me you gonna release something in 36 hours and you don't release the shit, like at that point, it really don't matter in my mind. But due to the fact that people are continuously still eating this up is the reason that I'm still talking about it. So outside of that, I don't have a whole lot to say, because if you're not gonna prove to me that what you saying is 100. Like, what can I do with that? So what I can do is deal with the facts, and the facts are that, you know, Anna Paulina Luna, she appeared on a QAnon program and praised the host. And when you go into her background, you find out it's a lot of lies that she's told, right? Concerning her own career. She's fabricated things concerning her ethnicity, right? She said she's of a particular ethnic group that she's not a part of. And she couldn't lie and say that she didn't tell these lies. You see what I'm saying? So what she did is couple it with, you know, her actual nationality. So I'm just saying, like, I'm not going, you're not going to keep lying to me. That's number one. Is for sure, once you tell one lie, you're going to have to tell another lie. And you're gonna have to do the Dwight York, right? You're gonna have to keep lying and tell some more lies. You're gonna say you from another planet, you from another country. You know, your actual parents aren't your parents. You see what I'm saying? I'm saying, babe, why is you in the background talking while I'm talking? Like, what are you saying? What did Megan lie about? Other than her saying that she didn't have intercourse on national TV. Again, like I said, if it was me and I'm on national TV and we talking about a guy who shot me, you think I'm about to admit that I fucked this nigga? I'm not. And on top of that, what matters is what was said during the trial. And during the trial, she very well let it be known that yes, on Gail King, I lied. You see what I'm saying? But in actuality, I did have sex with the guy. Then during her documentary that's on Netflix, you know what I'm saying? She discussed the same situation. And put a 1 in the chat if you actually been shot at by somebody who, you know, that you had a prior intimate relationship with. So all truth be told, you don't know how you gonna respond to that if you never been in that situation. And it's especially when you have the type of stardom, if you will, as a Megan Thee Stallion. You see what I'm saying? You don't know how you're gonna respond to that. This the same woman who in the beginning who tried to protect that guy, right? She didn't even speak on it. It wasn't until his PR team began to attempt to drag her through the mud and say that she didn't get shot, right? And say that he didn't shoot her. So we'll just see how it play out. Again, for me, if he isn't presented the opportunity to be able to cash out for a pardon, he not gonna get one. Because the evidence is not gonna get him a pardon. That I stand on. The evidence he will not receive a pardon based off of any new evidence or any old evidence. If that was the case, then this so-called new evidence that was supposed to be released to the public in 36 hours, and it's been 96 hours, we would already know about it. Then it would be nothing for the people to argue about. But that's the point. The point is to keep the conversation going, right? Number one, you look at the amount of Tory Lanez supporters who signed a petition to get him a pardon, right? It was close to 300,000 people who signed this petition, right? And that's a lot of people. Now, if I'm a shady ass politician, I'm gonna look at that and say, dang, if I can jump into that, and this is how scholars analyze stuff. I want you all to know that this is how scholars break shit down, not about what is being said online. I will look at the fact that 3,000 of Tory Lanez supporters signed this petition. So if I can put some propaganda out here or get in the mix as a politician and get my name off into that, chances are that those who support Tory Lanez will support me in the political arena. And this is what's happening. These are the facts. What other reason would a pale-faced woman have, you understand, to jump into this mix? Then I couple that with the fact that this is the same congresswoman who is, I don't care about her being MAGA. A lot of people will bring up the fact that she's MAGA. So what? It's a lot of y'all that are MAGA, right? That's not the point. The point is she's beyond just being someone who supports Trump agendas, right? She's a woman who supports QAnon. QAnon is 99 and 1, right? Meaning that 99% of the shit that was put out here by QAnon never came into fruition. Only 1% of what QAnon said actually came into fruition. So if 99% of the time you find out that I'm lying, you gonna support me? And if I'm a worthy politician that's for the people, would I support an entity who 99% of the time has lied to the people? I'm just saying, I'm too grown for to be playing games. And this is the thing. You can maybe, maybe it might be some people who feel as though that point is irrelevant. Okay. You let them play in your face. I'm not going to let them play in my face. Period. You play with the kids. You play with the children. Right? You come out better that way. You play with the babies. If they parents allow you to. Because a lot of people who like to play with the babies, you see what I'm saying, need to be locked up with Tory Lanez. Again, so let's read the statement from Unite the People. Unite the People is the organization that got the people together. You see what I'm saying? Put the information about this Free Tory Lanez petition, and this is their exact statement. Unite the People held a press conference in Los Angeles on May the 14th. Remember when you called me on May the 14th? Where they shared the testimony of Bradley James, who served as Kelsey Harris' bodyguard during Dey-Twah Peterson's trial in 2022. It is important to note that James specifically recounted a conversation he overheard between Harris and her husband, as opposed to anything he witnessed firsthand. So if this is your new evidence, that's some weak ass evidence. Again, let's read it again. Unite the People held a press conference in Los Angeles, May the 14th, where they shared the testimony of Bradley James, who served as Harris, that's Kelsey Harris' bodyguard and driver, during Peterson's, that would be Tory Lanez, Dey-Twah Peterson's trial in 2022. It is important to note that James specifically recounted a conversation he overheard between Harris and her husband, as opposed to anything he witnessed firsthand. So does that sound like new compelling evidence that would grant this man a trial after he's been denied an appeal and has also been convicted during his trial? I would have to say no. As somebody who was in a similar situation as a Tory Lanez, as somebody who popped off their gun based off of emotions, and the same thing that the judge told Tory Lanez, which is you could have seriously injured or killed somebody when you popped off that gun. Eventually, I had to be accountable for what I did, but my situation was different. I had some females running up on me. Understand? This is a man with 2 testicles and a penis who not only shot Megan that night, but he also beat the shit out of Kelsey Harris that same night. These are the things that were revealed in the trial that most of you don't know, because you're listening to the bloggers who don't give a shit whether the girl got shot or not. They don't really give a shit whether Tory Lanez is innocent or guilty. Their whole purpose is to get a check. So when I say between the free thinkers and the bloggers versus the scholars and the truth tellers, follow the money. You follow the money, you find out. You understand? I'm not gonna sit here and say that's how you find out the truth. But what you will find out is, people's true intent behind them even having this discussion. My intent on having a discussion is because of the facts that I do know, right? Let's talk about them facts. Let's discuss as to why I give a shit about this case. It don't have anything to do with Megan, and the damn show don't have anything to do with Tory Lanez. For me, it's the fact that, again, melanated men, not white men, not police officers. You understand? It's melanated men that's murdering our women and girls 5 times a day, every day. So when you make statements to protect a nigga who don't deserve to be protected, I got a problem with it. And again, this is the very reason that most women who are sexually assaulted or face domestic violence don't say shit, because 9 times out of 10, I'm not gonna say 9 times out of 10, but a lot of times they're not just challenged, but people don't believe them. So if I think that if I go and tell my mama or tell my brothers that this guy did this, that, and the third to me, if I think that they not gonna believe me, or if I'm considering going to the police with this situation, if I feel like they not gonna believe me, then it's kind of likely that I'm not gonna say nothing anyway. And what happens is, when we don't speak out, that man gets to do that to another woman or another child, right? The same way a very close friend of our families was abused by her older cousin as a child, and when she spoke out about it, her family went against her, right? They didn't believe that the cousin did the things that she, as a 5-year-old, was attempting to explain to them that he did to her, right? So as 20 more years go by, this man has 3 daughters, and he did the same thing to his own children. And he was just recently convicted here in the county of Wayne in the city of Detroit for those crimes. But had people believed the young woman when she was a baby, when she told on them, they would have saved his daughters from facing the same fate that she fucking faced. Understand that. This is why I go so hard. Not because I give a fuck about Megan or Tory. It's because of the fact that I know that this shit is a cycle. It keeps fucking happening. This shit's sad, y'all. And again, for the most part, a lot of these children who face these predators as children, some of these children grew up to be predators too. So it's a highly likelihood that that man who just got life for sexually abusing 3 of his daughters, that somebody did that shit to him. And when maybe he spoke out about it, they said the same shit that y'all saying about Megan Thee Stallion, that, oh, that ain't happened to her. Oh, well, she lied about sleeping with him. So what? That ain't your business. What that woman chose to do with her vagina don't have shit to do with us. Nothing. And it had nothing to do with the fucking case. Which is why I said what I said. Had that been me and Gail King asked me that question, I would have cussed her ass out and told her, next question. Or are we ending this interview right here and now? I have very little respect for a man or a woman who will not admit to their mistakes and who is not willing to be accountable for their fuck shit. That's what this is about. So if you're talking about letting this man out of prison, do you know what the likelihood is that he will do that to another woman? Is he running around with a fucking Napoleon complex? Or whatever his mental issues is as a whole? The likelihood is very high. Very high. So let's deal with the statements. Megan Thee Stallion and her attorney have dismissed Luna's, and that's the congresswoman, Luna's claims as nonsense, and maintain that Tory Lanez was rightfully convicted based on the evidence presented at the trial. Megan Thee Stallion's attorney, Alex Spiro, stated that Tory Lanez was tried and convicted by a jury of his peers, and his case was purportedly properly adjudicated through the court system. Some sources report that the discussed ring camera footage was already presented during the trial, which is the very reason that I said those 36 hours that came and went, that they wasn't going to produce anything worthy of getting this man a pardon. Now again, the only new evidence or the only new statement that was made is the statement that was made by way of Kelsey Harris, bodyguard / driver, which it wouldn't even be fucking credible, worth anything, based on the fact that he was not there the night of the incident. What he's saying is mere hearsay, because he's saying what he heard somebody else fucking say. Which again, Tory Lanez attorneys and the people united did not lie about. They said that what Bradley James or James Bradley said was not of a first-hand account. But yet, none of you seem to have seen that. Because y'all running around here saying that the man was there at the fucking shooting, the night of the shooting, which is absolutely false. The man didn't even say that. This shit is crazy. So we gonna have to deal with the scholars and the truth tellers, because if you deal with the free thinkers and the bloggers, you're gonna be misled, right? Because for the most part, the free thinkers and the bloggers are in this shit for a check and for a following. Again, they don't care about our women or our children worth a fuck. So with that being said, you know they don't give a shit about Megan. And again, you don't have to. But being that you are willing to lie and regurgitate lies, I don't have to respect your ass. That's where I come from with it. So again, 5 black women and girls were killed on each day in 2020, most of them with guns. Again, 5 black women and girls were killed each day in 2020, most of them with guns. There were 1,821 black women and girls killed in 2020. So stop capping and regurgitating lies for Tory Lanez. If he receives a pardon, he will pay for it. He will have to pay Newsom or Trump, right? See, his ways around that. Trump, again, as I stated earlier, with this being a state case, according to the Constitution, Trump should not be able to pardon Dey-Twah Peterson, right? But that doesn't stop Trump from being involved. I can throw Trump 3 or 5 or 10 million, right? And Trump can pick up the phone and call Gavin Newsom and be like, yo, I need you to do this for me. And 99% of the people within the listening audience, I'll make up that 1% or that 2%, I'll say 98% of the people in the listening audience, if you was in that position of power and somebody cut you a check for 5-10 million in order for you to use your influence to get somebody who was underneath you, which, you know what I'm saying, is a part of your subsidiaries, which is what Gavin Newsom would be to Trump. For Trump to make that call, most of y'all would do it. Zero fucking integrity, and you give zero. Trump don't have to give a shit about black women or girls, right? Let me put that statement in a different way. Trump don't give a shit about melanated women and melanated little girls and little boys. But we are supposed to. If we supposed to be these truth tellers, you understand, and these scholars, we're supposed to be about uplifting our people. But again, 98% of the people within the conscious community don't give a fuck. All they care about is attention and a couple punk ass dollars. I'm telling you, because I know. Now, whether or not you will take heed to it, that's your choice. But it's not going to stop me from being a truth teller. Now, if you know you are much more entertained by the free thinkers and the bloggers, I understand that. I understand that. You understand? And I understand it. But I don't have to agree to it, and I damn sure don't respect it. So let's read some stuff from the transcripts, right? The morning session included rulings from Judge Hereford. That's the judge over the Tory Lanez case. He ruled that the defense can call the LAPD detective on the case to ask why he didn't pursue Kelsey Harris as a possible shooter. and said prosecutors could bring in Kelsey Harris texts, right, from her phone, including one text sent to Pete. Pete is Megan Pete. Sent to Megan's Pete security guards, which read, "Help, Tory shot Meg," and 911. Now, you know when you see a text message that says 911, you know what that means in the hood. It means it's an emergency. It's an emergency. I need help right now, right? Plus another text which Kelsey Harris had sent to Megan Pete, which states, "Should I get a scan at urgent care? My chest is hurting. My left side, back, and neck hurt. But that's from the fighting and Tory dragging me out of the car by my hair." So like I said, the same night that Tory Lanez shot Megan Thee Stallion, he also beat Kelsey Harris' ass. Why? We can say, well, it was because he was having an intimate relationship with both of them. And you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't dispute that. But again, how is we taking up for a man who beat the shit out of one woman and shot the other woman the same damn night? That just goes to show where people's mentality is at and what they really care about. This shit is embarrassing. It's very embarrassing. And it's very traumatizing for me, myself, even though I'm not the person who y'all out here dragging. As of yet, you see what I'm saying? I know what's coming. Because the last thing most people want to hear is the truth. You love the satire. You love the people that don't like to hear the truth. I'm addressing this to you. You love the satire. You love the propaganda. You love the gossip. You love all that shit. You love cheerleading again, a man who beat a woman and shoot a woman, right? He the hero. And because she told that one lie on national TV and said she did not have intercourse with this man, she's the villain. This shit crazy. But it ain't unbelievable because I done been through it. Right? I done been through it already. Truth come out though when you get in that courtroom, for sure. The truth will come out. I remember what the judge said to me during my felony firearm. I was being charged with 2 counts of attempted murder. We're gonna talk about it. And felony firearm, right? My first time in front of the judge is when they were scheduling when my trial was going to begin, right? And when I came in the courtroom, he looked at me and he looked down at his little paperwork and he looked back up and he spoke. He said, "Ms. Royal?" I was like, "Yes." He told me, he said, "You don't look a day over 16. I would never think that you were an adult," since I'm not about to be over here telling y'all my age or whatnot, right? And my lawyer he elbows me and he whispers in my ear and he says, "Say thank you." So I was like, "Thank you." You know what I'm saying? So after it's all said and done, I had a jury trial. I wish I would have had a bench trial because I would have beat that case had I had a bench trial. But due to the fact that I chose a jury trial and there was only, I'm in Detroit, right? And I told y'all what our population is when it comes to how many so-called black people, what percentage of black people is in this city versus how many others are in the city, right? But Wayne County encompasses more than just the city of Detroit, right? So everybody in my, all of the jurors were pale people except for one person, one melanated woman, right? So as I get to hear my fate, right? No, I'm a fast. He said that he actually said this twice. He said it. This judge said this during the trial after they found me guilty and during my sentencing. What he said was this. He said, "Ms. Royal, if it was up to me, I would give you probation for this, right? Because I wasn't found guilty of the attempted murder. I was found guilty of felonious assault and felony firearm with no gun. No gun being found, no bullet shells, no gunpowder. The same shit with Tory Lanez. They found the gun in his situation. But they're saying that they didn't say his fingerprints or his DNA wasn't on the gun. It wasn't on the magazine of the gun. And they did not find gunpowder on his hands, right? The same shit with me. They didn't even find a gun. They didn't find gunpowder on my hands. They didn't find no bullet shells. They didn't find shit. All they had was 5 hood rats lying to the police saying that I shot at them. And they went forth with this trial, right? With that case. So my point is this. What the judge said to me was, had this happened before the year of 2000, I would give you probation. But post the year 2000, the state of Michigan passed a new policy, or a new law, if you will, which states that a felony firearm charge is a mandatory 2-year prison sentence, right? And I'm gonna show you how corrupt the system is. So I'm done. I'm 2 years. The people, the correctional facility people are saying that I don't qualify. Mind you, I never been in trouble a day before that, and since then I haven't been in trouble since then. And if you try to look the case up, you're not gonna find it, because first of all, thank you. I almost said his name, but a particular attorney who also used to be a sergeant for the Detroit Police Department, as well as a sergeant for the Detroit Fire Department, simultaneously at the same time. And if I tell you some other things about this guy, you will figure out who he is. So I'm not going to do that, right? But my file was stolen a long time ago, and recently the file, you know what I'm saying, was set aside and closed and expunged and all of that shit. So you're not going to be able to find it, but I do have the documents to prove everything that I'm saying, right? So again, they're telling me that you can't go, you can't get a tether, and you can't do boot camp, right? So I'm thinking I'm fucked. But anybody who knows me know that I did a year and 7 months on tether. But again, according to the state of Michigan and in the Michigan State Correctionals Departments, they said that I could not get a tether because it's a felony firearm case, and I cannot get boot camp. But everybody who knows me know that I was granted a tether. How did that shit happen? So this system is corrupt as hell. So again, if they are able to some way trying to convince Gavin Newsom to give Tory Lanez a pardon, I'm not saying that can't happen, but what I'm putting $1,000 on is that it won't happen based off no new fucking evidence. It won't be based off of no new evidence. It will be based off of payola. The same way I was able to go home on a tether, when according to the state, you cannot go home on a tether on a felony firearm case, right? But I had people in higher places who had bread. You see what I'm saying? So I went home on a fucking tether. But again, I don't know nobody else with that same charge within on the west side who I know of, right? Everybody was like, how the fuck did you do that? And I just told all of y'all how it was done, right? When you are damn near best friends with somebody who auntie, you see what I'm saying, is a sergeant of the correctional facility, right? When you are damn near best friends, you see what I'm saying, with somebody who is a millionaire, things get done for you. The same way I had a $350,000 bond and everybody mouth dropped, and they never thought I would be able to bond out, which that $350,000 bond was a mistake. The bond was right, but the judge didn't write interest or, the 10% on there. So when they sent me to the county, you see what I'm saying? The officers, the deputies, at the county was like, damn, you got a high ass bond. And your shit is cash. I'm like, no, it's not cash, because prior to that, I wasn't worried about it, right? But when they showed me that on that paperwork that judge did not write interest or what y'all call 10%, they said being that she actually didn't check anything. That just go to show you how these people don't do their job. So they said based on that, we have to put it in the system as $350,000 cash. That's when I started crying. That's the moment I started crying about that situation. All prior to that, I didn't cry. You see what I'm saying? But when they told me that, not only did I start crying, it was women who didn't even know me personally that started crying and started pulling out, you know what I'm saying? For instance, one lady gave me Cornelius Pitt's business card. If you're from Detroit, you know who Cornelius Pitts is. Cornelius Pitts used to be the shit. You see what I'm saying? But once they was able to sort that out and correct that paperwork and give me a bond reduction on top of that, I was able to bond out. So these are facts. So again, Tory Lanez has made a lot of money since he's been incarcerated. So it's possible. A pardon could be possible. I don't see it. Being that, again, the likelihood, once you are denied an appeal, which he was denied an appeal based off of the strong evidence that got him convicted, the likelihood of you receiving a pardon is slim to none. And he not no important person like that, right? Now, if they trying to make him one, you get almost 300,000 people to sign a petition to get you out of jail. You will command a lot of attention from politicians towards you as well. And this very well what has taken place. Yes, this is very sickening. You got a lot of people speaking on this who never even been in that predicament before. Then I'm looking at the fact of this, like, when you got people that's speaking out against you and willing to lie on you in a court of law, they have to have something that they're going to gain, right? People don't typically go into a courtroom and just fucking lie on people unless there's something for them to gain, or there is a massive amount of hate and disdain that they have for a particular individual. In my case, what was to gain by bitches, and I'm gonna say bitches, lying on me was a welfare check and some food stamps. That is what, I'll say it like this, that is what they were in jeopardy of losing had I been found innocent, which to this day, I'm gonna say I was innocent because what I was being charged with isn't what I did. Again, I popped my gun off the same way the Tory Lanez did, but it's different circumstances. I did the shit in self-defense. My flaw was the fact that I lied about the shit, right? But if you were someone who was sitting, if even the jury, I'm gonna tell you what the jury told the Depps during my trial. They told the Depps that it wasn't the testimony of the women who were saying that, the young women who were saying that I shot at them, it wasn't their testimony, that they actually did not believe them. They said it was a statement that my attorney made, my first attorney, because I went through 3 attorneys with this case, right? My attorney made a statement that was similar to what actually happened, right? He said that if he had a gun and took it and fired it in the air or into the ground, would they consider that to be attempted murder, right? This is what this dum-dum went out there and said, which is what fucking got me convicted. Because when you look at the people who were my witnesses, which was a neighbor, my sister, and our mailman who knew me for 17 years, and he knew the bitches that was lying on me for almost the same amount of time. Not only was he my mailman, he was also white. And he was there when the shit went down. And he got on the stand and lied for me. Thank you. You see what I'm saying? He lied for me because he knew the circumstances in the situation. He knew it was a situation where these bitches was constantly picking at me, right? On the basis of, on being disrespectful. I ain't gonna tell the whole story this evening. One day I'll give y'all the whole story, but they were being very disrespectful. And once you get to know the whole story, you know, you might shed a tear, you might not, but you'll understand some of the aggression that I have, right? But again, even the white mailman was like, no, she didn't have a gun. No, didn't hear any gunshots. Yes, I was aware that there was a situation going on between these 2 families. I'm not biased toward either family. I know both families. You see what I'm saying? Like, it was that type of situation. So again, the jury was more inclined to believe my side of the story, and you know, those who testified, my witnesses, versus the state's witnesses. And one of the witnesses was actually a threat. She lied so much that my lawyer threatened to, you know, she was held in contempt of court. And what do you call that when you lie on the stand or whatever. Like, they threatened her with a whole bunch of shit. She was just lying all over the place. And it was only two. The state had a total of 3 witnesses. 2 of the witnesses was actually 2 of the girls that was calling themselves running down on my house and was gonna jump on me, right? Okay, the one girl lied a whole bunch, and then the other girl, during the trial, when she was being questioned, she basically was like, I don't know what she had, and I don't know shit. So they hurried up and got her off the stand. And the other girl lied so much, she was threatened to be held in contempt of court, because everything that she said was the opposite, or, you see what I'm saying, was contrary to a lot of the shit that she said during the preliminary hearing, right? The other woman, she didn't have shit to do with the shit, and everything that she said was a lie too, and it, threw me for a loop, because I didn't think that she was gonna get on the stand and lie against me, because she made a promise not to. And she actually said that she was like, I'm scared, like, I would like not show up and shit, but I don't want to, you know what I'm saying, face being prosecuted and shit for not showing up. This is what she told my people to tell me. See what I'm saying? My people went to her with a couple $1,000s to get her to sit down somewhere and shut the fuck up, right? But she was scared to do that. So she came to the trial anyway. But the lies that she told, I was like, damn, she said she was looking out her window and she seen me actually point at the girls and shoot at them, which never happened. So again, I've been in a similar circumstances before, so I can look at the case, I can look at it 2 ways. I can look at the Tory Lanez case objectively, or I can look at it with a sound mind, looking for nothing but the fucking truth. And everything that's available within the transcripts, because again, the case is not classified. The same way I was able to lay my eyes on it, everybody else can too, but people are not interested in that. What people are interested in is the drama and the gossip and the propaganda and the popularity and them siding with the recording artists who music that they like more. Like, nah, we ain't doing that. That's how the fuck I got in trouble. You see what I'm saying? People siding with people based off the fact that, well, if she doesn't get convicted of these fraudulent charges, she's gonna regain guardianship, or she's gonna gain guardianship of her younger sister, which would take the food stamps out of our household, which would take the Social Security check out of our household and put it back in the rightful household, which was my household. So again, the same way, allegedly, and I could say allegedly because I haven't seen anything to prove this, but it's been said multiple times that Tory Lanez offered Megan, and this is in the transcripts, but it don't mean that it's true. The text messages, you can't say that that's not true. The text messages that I just read, you see what I'm saying? You can't say that that's not true. They're time stamped and they happen at the same time as the assault happened. You see what I'm saying? Now, as far as Tory Lanez offering to pay Megan Thee Stallion and Kelsey Harris $1 million apiece, you see what I'm saying, to lie for him, I can't prove that. But that's what's being said. And I'm more inclined to believe that based off of the fact, or I'm more inclined to kind of side with that, since I don't do belief, to side with that based on the fact that till this day, this man still refused to be accountable for his actions. Them is not the kind of people that you trust. Them is not the people that you should want on your team. What is this? I mean, we know that's what attorneys do. Attorneys will say whatever the fuck you pay them to say. I know, I had 3 of them in one fucking case. Period. And then again, like I said, the judge made the statement. You see what I'm saying? He didn't whisper this statement in my ear. This is on my transcripts. He said, Ms. Royal, if it was up to me, I would give you probation, like probably 18 months to 2 years, I think he said, of probation for this case. But due to the state of Michigan, and then my second and my third attorney, not just the Michigan State Correctional Facility. It was my 2 lawyers who also said that I wasn't eligible for boot camp, right? Under the age of 25. I'm not age, but it's a felony firearm case. You can't do boot camp and you can't get tethered. But I get shipped to the prison, shipped out the prison, and shipped right back home on a fucking tether. So they basically convicted me and gave me a convict number to set my ass down on a fucking tether to make me pay $55 a week for a fucking tether. I wonder how much a tether costs right now, if it was $55 a week when I had one. And again, if I'm this violent person, right? How come they don't have any record of me being a violent person prior to that incident or post that incident? Because I'm not violent unless you fuck with somebody I love. You gotta fuck with me quite a few times for me to snap, which is what happened that day. Because I really don't too much, you see what I'm saying? As long as you don't put your hands on me, I really don't care what you say. You would have to say certain things multiple times for me to snap enough to do what I did. But you fuck with somebody that I love, which was really the situation. You fucking with somebody that I love, I'm coming for you. Again, that's something that Megan didn't have. Megan don't have brothers. Megan don't have sisters. She was the only child. Lost her mom, dad, and grandma damn near back to back. So she was the right person for Tory to fuck with. And again, he knew all this shit because during his sentencing, he expressed it. He said, hey, I consider Megan Pete to be a good friend of mine. I care for her dearly. Me and her have a tight bond. We both lost our mothers. And based off of that, this is in the transcripts. This is what this whole ass nigga said. So when I say he is incapable of being accountable, he showed it, and he's still showing it, which is why that nigga got stabbed up like how he got stabbed up. That's what you call karma. Very much what you call karma. And then people are pissed off like, well, Megan Thee Stallion fans are putting money on the guy who stabbed Tory Books. So what? Then you want to talk about what that particular guy was convicted of. He was convicted of killing his 13-year-old girlfriend, is what they say. And I don't have any reason to deny that's what he did, right? But let's look at what the fuck Tory did. This is a man shooting at a woman. So whether we're talking about the guy who shot him up or him himself, neither one of them deserve respect. Neither one of them deserves support from our community. But on both sides, y'all giving it up to them. Both of them. Again, it couldn't be me or none of mine. Like I said, if it was my daughter, my auntie, my sister, my female cousin, and she's out being accompanied by a guy and they hanging out, and she don't come home in the same condition that she left in, then we got a problem with you, bruh. We gonna do exactly to you what you did to her. And it don't, in the case of my family, it go like this. If one of my people in my family, one of the females in my family is out on a date with you or hanging out with you, and she come home injured, your ass better come home injured too. You better be injured when you dropped her off with, these are the injuries that you got from protecting her, trying to stop her from getting hurt. But if you ain't injured and she injured, oh, we doing the same shit to you that happened to her without a shadow of a fucking doubt. Where the people at like that? If you know what I'm saying, if all of us thought like that, then we wouldn't have 1 out of every 6 of our little boys getting sexually assaulted and 1 out of every 4 of our little girls before the age of 18 getting sexually assaulted. We wouldn't have 5 of our women and girls getting murdered every day. Every day. Not 5 a month, not 1 a day, 5 every 365 days out of fucking year. We also wouldn't be listening to a QAnon quack like Congresswoman Luna if we had these type of morals. if we follow these type of standards and rules when it comes to our women and children. No man would dare even consider getting so drunk that he gonna argue with a woman and shoot at her. Even if you smack one of mine, nigga, you gonna get 20 smacks. You getting 20 smacks for the one smack that you gave one of mine. Anything outside of that, I won't respect. The sympathy is in the wrong place. How can you sympathize with a fucking simp like that? Not to mention, he ain't one of us. Y'all will say Drake ain't one of us. He ain't one of us either. But y'all let him say nigga, nigga, nigga all the time. I don't care about him being melanated and his daddy being Reverend Porkchop. I don't care. He not from here. That's not how they talk in Toronto. I'm right across the bridge from Canada. It's not. I done been there multiple times, and not once. From the age from my first time going to Canada when we used to go to Babalo all the time and get on the Babalo boat, to going to Toronto to Caribbean Fest and all of that shit. I never heard anybody from over there use the word nigga. He tried his hardest to be one of us. And we need a commercial. Let's do a commercial so I can come back and get right quick.
YouTube, you fools try to limit me, muting and deleting channels, thinking that's the end of me. Y'all are not on my level, smaller than a centipede. This is my purpose, TBT is a ministry. I do not tire, my God gives me energy. Chose by Messiah, you believe, come get with me. Married to a black queen, we got the illest chemistry. Founded the Black Tube, and now we making history. Black Tube, 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 what? TBT, 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 what? TBT, 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 what? TheBlackTube.com. I'm a giant killer, son of an omniscient God who's realer. If this be the thriller in Manila, I'm Ali in his prime. It's showtime, go time, about to take what's mine. We are not with your agenda. We showing real life.
Good looking guy. That's exactly what the girl did. She perjured herself on the stand. You know, since I can tell it now, you know what I'm saying? She claimed I had an automatic weapon. It was black. It was square when I actually had a revolver, which is another reason why they didn't find anything. You know what I'm saying? And it was a matter of them constantly trying to, as my uncle told me, peace be upon him, he say they trying to get you off your square. You doing good. Don't even worry about them. But as they came running down the street on the date of January 15th, snow outside, Martin Luther King birthday on a Saturday, I snapped. I actually initially took the gun out of my pocket and passed it to somebody else. I'm not going to say who I passed it to. And I was like, take this before I, you know what I'm saying, act a damn fool. You know what I'm saying? And it was some words said. You know, the mailman was outside kicking it with us. My mechanic was there taking a radiator out of a car and putting a brand new radiator that I had purchased for the car. And it was actually my younger brother's car, which I told my little brother not to fucking buy the car. But he bought the car anyway, and it blew 3 radiators. I got 3 used radiators for the car, and the car was backfiring. It needed a timing chain, right? So I just bought a brand new radiator. Mechanic outside putting it in, and here these hoes come. You know what I'm saying? Running down the street. And it was just kind of funny to everybody because at the same time, another car pulled up with some females in the car, but they had their kids with them, and they was ready for the smoke. You know what I'm saying? But before anybody could get out to try to defend me, I snatched the gun back and got the popping off. And that's the absolute truth on me, on my mama, on my son. That's what the fuck happened. But again, I didn't tell that truth during that trial. You see what I'm saying? So luckily, I wasn't found guilty of no 2 counts of attempted murder. They got me on the 2 counts of felony assault and a felony firearm charge, right? But the other shit, which is gives light to everybody as to why I'm so versed in these commercial presentments in this law, to the degree that I am. I'm not saying I know more than most and more than everybody else, but since that day that happened to me, any other encounters, and I've had multiple encounters with police and courts since that day, I've been A1 and every fucking case got dismissed except for one thus far, post me going through that bullshit. So this is why, you know what I'm saying, I'm so adamant about whatever I say. I don't care what it is. And the reason I'm willing to say, hey, I got $1,000 on it, and everybody else shut the fuck up. Because nobody else is willing to stand on that bullshit that they spewing out their mouth. When I stand on whatever I say. And if I'm wrong about something, I don't have no problem giving props to the person who corrected me. I actually like being correct so much that if I got, you know what I'm saying? If something is wrong with what I thought to be true and somebody corrects me on it, I'm glad. I'm happy about that shit. I don't get mad. See, it's only people that's full of self-hate and love ignorance who get upset with you when you give them the truth. What they say, you know what I'm saying? You tell a fool the truth, you got a hater for life. Nope, that's what I see. But y'all know what it is. That's exactly what it is. People love drama, right? People love garbage can juice. And I hate bad hygiene, so garbage can juice is the last thing I want anywhere near me. I don't want people with dirty ass fingernails, bad breath, none of that, nowhere the fuck around me. And I definitely don't want a man who would shoot a woman. You see what I'm saying? Like, man, what the fuck kind of world is this that we in? We support people. I'm gonna stop saying we. It's too many of us who are just don't have no kind of morals at all. Like, there may be some things that I do that some women might not do, right? But it will never be anything that's demeaning or hygienically incorrect. Like, for example, I speak French a lot. In other words, I say some profane words, right? I use profanity. I cuss, however you want to label it. As where I heard my auntie cuss one time in my whole lifetime, and what she said was hell. Hell. That's the only, you know, and as a child, you consider the word hell to be a cuss word because that's a word that you wouldn't use around adults, right? And I heard my grandma cuss one time. She said, I'm gonna whip your ass. Ass. That's the only cuss word I ever heard my grandma use. That, and it was only one time, and she did whip my ass, right? But me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna say some cuss words. So what? You know what I'm saying? Does that make me less of a woman? No, it do not. Does that mean that, you know what I'm saying, because you consider some of my language to be vulgar, it makes you better than me, bitch? No, it don't. I'm just saying what it is. Feel however you want to feel. But your feelings, you know what I'm saying, means nothing when these situations present themselves where there is violence being committed against your women and children. That's just like you can say, that's jacked up. You know, I'm not down for that. Well, you saying that that's jacked up and you not down for that and F that or whatever you saying, that's not preventing. That's not prevention. That's just how you feel about it. All right, you know, people will sell you out. Sell you out. My mother wasn't even buried It had just been a year. My mother passed December the 13th. I caught my case the following year, January the 15th. I'm still mourning. And the case was based around my mother passing. Had my mother not passed, I would have never caught that case, because that particular household would not have had the opportunity to be involved with my mother's estranged husband and my younger sister, which was by my mother's estranged husband. So there was a rift in my family, and they participated in helping, you know what I'm saying, this no good motherfucker go against me. You see what I'm saying? And that pisses me off, because y'all, this family, y'all have known me as long as y'all lived on the block. I predate you on the block, right? I was already on the block when you got there. And a lot of times, anything that I can do to help this particular family, such as letting them drive my cars. I'm 18, 19 with 3 cars. I'll let you, so I see your mom at the bus stop in the freezing cold and shit. I'll let you use my car to take your mama to work and pick your mom up from work. I picked you up from work a couple times. I got you a job at where I worked at. Like, I did a lot of shit for these hoes, right? For a moment in time. And as I began to grow as a young woman, you see, I didn't have time to interact with them and know what was going on in their lives. Not to mention, none of them even showed up to my mother funeral services. They weren't there. So 6 months passed by, and all of a sudden, my mother husband is living with y'all, and he got my little sister with him. Like, that's a problem. It wasn't, it wasn't something immediately that I acted on, but, y'all acting, tough with me. You acting tough with me? Like, you know me for years. Now all of a sudden you want to act tough with me? For real? The girl that grew up with 3 brothers that beat up damn near everybody in the neighborhood because my brother used to make me fight every day. The reason why I don't have many friends now, because my brother made me beat up everybody when we was little. So it's people that to this day still don't like me because I beat them up when we was little, but it wasn't me trying to fight you. It was your older brother or older sister saying that you can beat my ass, and it was my older brother saying my little sister kick your little brother or little sister ass, and so they would make us fight. That's how that came about. I didn't come out. I came outside and I wanted to play with the other kids. I did not want to fight the other kids. I already had to fight my brother every damn day because that's what he liked to do. He liked to fight. I don't like to fight. I don't like to fight to this day. I don't want my face scratched up. I don't want nobody pulling my hair. I don't want nobody pulling my necklace. You see what I'm saying? These are the things that happen when you get into fights. This is just a jacked up ass world, y'all. It's foot to ass 2025. Make me a hat. Foot to ass 2025. You can wear your MAGA hat. I have on my foot to ass 2025 hat. Excuse me. Oh, I'm looking. I want to get this out of my system. I know it's been almost 2 hours. So for me, again, it's sad as fuck that people who didn't vet this case, again, which isn't classified, continue to regurgitate lies and propaganda with zero supporting facts and ignore the actual facts. This is what's happening with this case, right? I even seen Trina Braxton, Tony Braxton's sister, on Facebook. I don't know if it's her. I think it's kind of safe to assume that, it's her PR team who runs her, social media pages or whatnot, right? And I'm like, damn, you too? You too? Even after 50 Cent apologized to Megan Thee Stallion? You know what I'm saying? Because he thought she was lying, but he was man enough to come out and apologize to her. Because just like I heard the apology from Tory Lanez by way of his jail phone call. Matter of fact, that's probably what we need to look at next. Let me see. I mean, it just shows he's not the brightest young man. For him to be on a recorded jail phone call saying the things that he said, which is a big part of the reason that he was found guilty based off of this phone call. Right. Let's see. I'm gonna have to kill the music right quick. I know it's all on my mic. Mm-mm. 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 Where is that? There you go. Boop. I'll kill that and get on this. Put this up full blown. And this is by way of street TV. This is the same audio that was played during the Tory Lanez, aka Daystar Peterson trial. So we gonna play it this evening. Right. And you know what tripped me out? Even after people hear this conversation, this recorded jail call, they will still make excuses for this man. I've never seen so much nut hugging outside of Trump. Y'all, there's a lot of people that hug Trump nuts all day, every day, but to hug this man nuts after he has been convicted for shooting a woman, not a man. He ain't like the baby. At least the baby done popped off mostly on guys. This Canadian nigga shot a woman. And people are capping for him, which is embarrassing. Especially for you conscious people who out here talking about you a free thinker. Step on over here with me so I can tell you what your ass really is. Right? Step over here and talk that shit to a woman that's fully protected so I can tell you what you really is. I ain't Megan Thee Stallion. Yeah, she got way more money than me, but I got way more soldiers who don't give a fuck about nothing conscious. Nothing. They don't give a fuck about a Hebrew Israelite. They don't care nothing about Moors. They don't care nothing about none of that shit. They don't give a shit about a Pan-African, but guess what? They love me. I don't know what I just did, but I was trying to get the captions because I know I didn't download the video. So Look at her. So when the police pull up, they take all of them down, right? They let her go, and Tory, driver, security guard, or whatever, go. Megan goes to the hospital, but they keep him. So in any likelihood, just okay, they at the police precinct, right? They have her phone. So the text messages that were shown during the trial that I just read to y'all not too long ago, the police had all that evidence. So with that evidence, they let her go. They keep him, right? He the one that got to pay the ransom. You know what I'm saying? He's the one that remained kidnapped and has to pay the ransom. And I want to reiterate the fact that when the police pull up, Megan don't say, "Hey, I'm shot. This nigga shot me." If you seen the footage, you seen the police made all of them lay on the ground on their stomachs, eagle spread, while Megan is bleeding. She's kind of on her side, but she's laying on the ground just the way that they're laying in the middle of the street, right? So at that point, do you say to the police, "Hey, I'm shot. He shot me," especially in that climate? That's the year 2020. That's the same year that George Floyd was murdered. That's the same year that many other melanated men, mostly men, women, and children, were murdered by the police. So again, when you are in such a traumatizing situation like that, it's really no telling, you know what I'm saying, what you're going to say. And even after all of that happened, Megan didn't say a fucking word. She said nothing until Tory press team came out with all of this negative shit against her. Why would he do that? You got to ask yourself. Why would? Because this nigga guilty. He trying to put everything in his favor, which is not difficult for him to do, because again, people are more likely to believe a pale-faced woman who say, "Hey, such and such shot me," or "Hey, such and such sexually assaulted me," before they will believe a melanated woman who makes the same statement and who actually is a victim. See, with this situation, I could sit here and say, I'm a victim. No, I'm a fucking survivor. I'm a survivor of many of the things that we discussed tonight, right? Like I said, I'm not an only child like Megan Thee Stallion. I got 3 brothers and mostly male cousins, right? And I'm from the D, you see? So certain things I can handle on my own because I was raised that way, to the point where somebody like a Tory Lanez would know what he can do to me and get away with and what he cannot do to me and get away with. Versus somebody like a Megan Thee Stallion, again, who out here twerking and getting her bread and fucking around with him. You see, and they both trauma bond. And Megan had a trauma bond with Tory. Again, Tory spoke to this trauma bond during his sentencing. His sentencing statement, he mentions this trauma bond that he has with Megan that I'm talking about right now, right? And these are the facts that most people skipped over. I didn't skip over it, right? Because I faced the similar trauma, right? Now, maybe it's some of you women out here who are cheerleading for this nigga. Maybe y'all are one of them women who have lied on a guy and said this guy did this and that to me, right? This guy put his hands on me, right? This guy, as y'all would say, graped me. Maybe you one of the women who lied about them situations. When there are thousands of other women on an annual basis, specifically melanated women, who face this type of violent situations, and it actually fucking happened to them. So you don't understand that trauma because it didn't actually happen to you. You actually was lying on a nigga. So I can dismiss all of y'all. Many of y'all are too young and too incompetent to even realize that this shit happens as often as it happened. Like the cat here from Detroit, his last name is Green. I can't think of his first name right now, who went to prison for like 25 years for murdering his wife, right, and one of their children. He gets out of prison 25 years after the fact, marries another woman who believes that he's rehabilitated, right? And then he gets upset and he kills his new wife and their 2 children. So when I say this shit happened 5 times a day, every day, but you're not aware of it because not only do you don't read. At this time, you just listen to bloggers and free thinkers, who get their little YouTube checks and their little Instagram checks and are willing to say anything so that they can keep receiving their YouTube checks and their Instagram or whatever type of social media checks they get from their blogs or whatnot. Their broadcast and shit. I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. Yes, my channel is monetized, but for the most part, I get minimal monetization due to the content, right? And due to the things that I address. So YouTube is not about to shell out anything to me. You know what I'm saying? And the same way, there's going to be a portion of people who won't even be willing to listen to what I have to say because they sensitive about the French that I speak, or they're sensitive about the topics that we discuss over here, which are topics that we very well need to be discussing on a daily basis. But again, this is the shit that most people don't like to talk about, right? Most people don't like to talk about the fact that, again, 1 out of every 6 of our little melanated boys are sexually assaulted before the age of 18. And 1 out of 4 of our melanated girls are sexually assaulted before the age of 18. These are the discussions that we don't like to have, but we very well have to have. And being that these are the discussions that are hidden, and we're told not to talk about this shit, is the very reason that we need to talk about it. And being that some of us, when these things have happened to us and we've taken it to adults or taken it to the church or taken it to grandma smacked the shit out of you and told you not to say nothing else about that, we gonna take it to Jesus, right? So this is why many of us, again, when it happened to us, we don't even say shit because we know the consequences of us speaking about it. And we know that the chances and the likelihood of people not believing us, are very high. So we suffer with that trauma, right? And we turn out like a Mary J. Blige and a Oprah Winfrey and a Chris Brown and a Tyler Perry. These are all people who have spoken about being sexually assaulted as minors. We see how Mary J. Blige act. She don't have the best attitude. She may have some of the bomb music. I'm not going to say she's the best vocalist, right? But she has songs that many of us rock with. I know she got many songs that I rock with, from Real Love, you know what I'm saying? And many more. But as far as her attitude and, how she's treated many people, it's a lot, bro. Peace, and I appreciate everybody who listening in. It just, yeah, I stopped it. I may play, I let it play through the duration or whatnot. But again, the best way for you to vet this information or research this case is to get your hands on the transcripts. And if you cannot afford to access the transcripts, this channel that you're looking at, this streettv.net, they followed this entire trial. Every day of this trial, they were there. This is a state case. So within a state case can be televised, right? They allow cameras and people to shoot footage with a state case, but a federal case like Diddy's case, they allow press and you know, certain people inside of the courtroom, but they do not allow you to film a federal case. So this is the difference. In between Tory's case, everything that I'm saying can be verified within Tory's case, which is another reason I get so pissed at people, you understand, for aiming at me when I'm only giving you the fucking facts. Because again, this case is not classified. Everything concerning this case is you can access this shit. From the girl on the screen, Kelsey Harris, the text messages that she sent to Megan's security, because again, during this night, Megan's security was not with them. But like I said, and I'm gonna say again, if it's my niece, my daughter, my auntie, my sister, and she was being accompanied by these young men on the screen, and they was out having a good old time or not such a good time, and one of mine come home not in the same condition that she left in, that's this nigga ass. That's his ass. And this is how a portion of our families still function until this day. But when you're talking about a young woman who don't have family, mama passed, daddy passed, grandma passed. Very well, if Megan Thee Stallion, if just her pops, if just her father was still living, the likelihood of this nigga Tory doing what he did to her would be slim. Because he knew it would have been repercussions. But being that he knew all Megan business, because Megan made the mistake of trauma bonding with a Napoleon complex having ass nigga, she ended up in the predicament that she was in, right? The same way he's still trying to lie about what the fuck happened and don't want to be accountable, but ends up getting stabbed up 14 times. Yeah, that's karma. That's a karmic debt for your ass. Anybody, you know what I'm saying? you got a lot of people out here to claim that they read people and you know, they do birth charts and shit like this, but they couldn't see this. Stop listening to their ass. Stop listening to them. Because again, anybody who followed this case day by day and fast forward to him getting stabbed 14 times knows very well that he deserved to get stabbed 14 times for what he did. This is a man. Not to mention, again, he didn't just shoot Megan that night. He beat the shit out of this girl right here on the screen. He drug her out of the car by her hair, according to her, not according to me, according to her. And the text messages that she sent to Megan, complaining about her side, her neck, and her back hurting from them fighting and from Tory dragging her out the car by her hair. So imagine this is your sister, your niece, your mother, your daughter, that this man did this shit to. You mean to tell me maybe I need to go listen to some of his music? His music that good that y'all will hug this nigga nuts and say, even after he's been convicted and you just heard this jail phone conversation, that you would still say that he innocent? Obviously, close to 300,000 people think that he innocent. Where my camera at? Hold on. Put me on screen for a minute. Almost 300,000 people signed a petition to free him. So maybe I need to go listen to some of his music. Is that it? I need to go listen to some of his music. Because for me, the only person, and it ain't no person, like for example, for those of us who grew up on Luther Vandross music, for those of us who grew up on Michael Jackson music, like Michael Jackson used to date Stephanie Mills, right? And to this day, occasionally, if I hear a Michael Jackson song, the first thing that comes to my mind is, damn, why he couldn't have no kids with Stephanie Mills? Why he couldn't actually have no children with Mickey Howard? Do you know how talented them children would have been and how rich they would have been? But all the complaints that Michael Jackson was making before he passed over, all of that money go right back to the pale people that he was complaining about. With the part of the money that didn't go to Katherine Jackson, just asinine. And then somebody else who passed for him now, Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones made a statement about Michael Jackson. And don't quote me. I want to say he made this statement after Michael Jackson passed concerning why he didn't attend the services or something like that. But Quincy Jones, punk ass, and I'm going to say it because y'all know I'm not like everybody else. I'm not one of them people who believes that you shouldn't speak bad on the dead. Like, I don't do that. I don't give a fuck. It's some people who have passed over who, if I could, I would go dig up their grave and kill their ass again, right? Because some people deserve no respect. But again, Quincy Jones said that Michael Jackson loved white people too much. This is what Quincy Jones, who married a couple white women and gave them babies and gave them millions of dollars, had to say about Michael Jackson. Just a backstabbing motherfucker. And I'm kind of lost with the Tupac and Quincy Jones and what's his daughter name? Khadijah, that Tupac was engaged to. I'm abreast of that situation, but what I'm confused about is I recall Tupac saying that Quincy Jones approached him to, on some homosexual shit, right? And later on, to my understanding, Tupac apologized for revealing that, right? But now the conversation is coming from Suge Knight, who you can't trust half of what Suge Knight say. You just can't. Which again, the reason why he where he at, because he committed violence on. I'm talking about Suge Knight now. He committed violent acts and condoned violent acts to be committed on people who very well did not deserve it. He was a fucking bully. Suge Knight is responsible for more people getting robbed within that Hollywood circle than any other producer or record label owner. Even he done did more dirt than Clive Davis, if you ask me, as far as to people who didn't deserve it, right? Yeah, Suge was that guy running around robbing people who just may have wanted to meet Snoop Dogg or wanted to meet Tupac. You set these niggas up and send them up on the elevator, and then a bunch of Crips or Bloods beat the shit out these people and rob them. Like, nigga, you deserve to be where you at. Point blank. Suge Knight deserves to be where he's at. I don't care who like it and don't like it. The same way Tory Lanez deserves to be where he's at. We have to stop putting our sympathy in the wrong damn place. And to be sympathizing for Tory Lanez or Suge Knight, it means you don't know shit. All you do is listen to bloggers and free thinkers, which is leading you nowhere but to gossip and propaganda and pushing their agendas and their narratives. No different than Trump. This shit is embarrassing. Very embarrassing. And it's detrimental again to our women and our children. Being that what I've expressed 1,000 times on here, what happens to our women and children. And historically, it proves to me that most of you who are caping for this man don't know the history of women and children. Because if you did, you would be more considerate, right? But when you're not informed or you are believing misinformation or satire information, you get led into supporting and promoting a bunch of lies. So we gonna do this for the people right quick, and I'm gonna get on up out of here because it's been a minute. We can come back tomorrow, so I can actually show some of the stuff that I should have shown tonight, but I gotta, you know, a little bit upset based off the fact of the noise in my background. You know what I'm saying? The instigating that was going on in my background. I was saying this shit to a point. It's a little bit funny because on May the 14th, again, my phone rung and it was my spouse, and he was like, "Oh, you gonna be mad?" And I'm like, "Mad about what?" "Oh, they got new evidence, and Tory getting out of jail. He getting out of jail. They about to let him out." I'm like, and this is the thing, a lot of people are being sympathetic, which this I do understand, based off the fact that they like, well, Megan lied on him. This is what you believe because you didn't research the case, right? And then he ends up getting stabbed. But you can see what type of opportunist he is, because he's using that sympathy to prey on the people. This is exactly what he's doing. He know that y'all feel sorry for him because he got stabbed up, right? So he's gonna reignite this shit. And his daddy, come on, y'all, his daddy Reverend Porkchop. When has Reverend Porkchop ever fucking told the truth? You gonna blame Jay-Z, you gonna blame Kelsey Harris, Rock Nation, and next he gonna blame Jesus for Megan getting shot. This shit ridiculous. I'm not again and again. Anybody who want to take the $1,000 test, let it be known. Let it be known, because I'm still with it, especially with the Michelle Obama shit. If you believe Michelle Obama is a man and you want to debate me about it and you think you can prove that she a man, put a rack up. It's enough of y'all to where y'all can all put $100 together. 10 of y'all put $100 together and put it with my 1,000, and let's see who come out on top. That's a woman who could never be a Megan Thee Stallion based on the fact that let a nigga shoot Michelle Obama. You know what I'm saying? As a young woman out on a date with her, you would have had the answer to her daddy and her brother and her mama. But Megan Thee Stallion didn't have a father, a brother, or a mother to get that get back. She got some bread though. That's for sure. That's for sure. And if I was her, I would be coming after every last one of y'all fake ass bloggers. You notice you have not heard about this on any major media mass media broadcast, right? Like an NBC, a ABC, a CNN. You ain't heard them talking about it's some new evidence. Now you heard the shit on the TMZ, and it's another 7 Action Live News. That bullshit they put anything on there. That I know. You know why? Because I'm a researcher. I'm not a blogger, but I'm a researcher. No information that I see, or let me say this, any information that I see on the internet or on social media, before I amen that shit, I make sure I go back and see if I can verify it. In other words, I vet the information. Then I bring it to the people. So whatever, dude, guilty. You know what I'm saying? You can live in a fantasy all you want to. Yeah, but I'm not doing that, because this is a reality. This is something that happens, like I said, in the worst case scenario where women and girls actually lose their life. And I'm specifically talking about melanated women and girls losing their life 5 times a day, 365 days a week. This is happening. And it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. So I'm going to get to this 50 Cent apology right quick. And we're going to roll up out this piece. Like I said, I'll be back tomorrow. And I can go through, I can actually show some of the stuff from the transcripts that I spoke about earlier. Matter of fact, before we get to 50 Cent, I'm a mess with Ernest Lee Thompson. Hold on. Now, Ernest Lee Thomas, if you're not familiar with that name, that's Raj from What's Happening. Some of y'all might be too young to remember the show What's Happening and What's Happening Now. But that was the, you know what I'm saying? That was the go-to. That was something that I would look at when I was growing up before I would watch, and they were reruns by the time, I was watching them or whatnot. But I would look at What's Happening and What's Happening Now before I would look at Good Times. I'm just saying. It was more family oriented to me, and I could relate to it a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? I guess because I wasn't, raised in the projects or whatnot or something like that. I don't know if that was it or not. Or maybe it was just more funny to me. I don't know. I love to see D snitching. You know what I'm saying? On her brother, or him having to pay her off not to say nothing. Here, take this $1. He tried to give her a quarter. She'd be like, that ain't enough. That ain't enough for me not to snitch on you. I'm telling mama. For sure. Where that? Yeah, I don't know if the clarity of this is going to be on point. We about to see, though. But I copied this. You can see I used Bandicam from an interview that he did. And he was going in. He was going in. And, again, this is a topic that, in our community, we can't, you say you can't find it. I'll share it. Like I said, the street TV, they was there every day for the Tory Lanez trial. So they shared all of that footage. Every testimony is there. So if you can find the video that I just played with Tory Lanez, the recorded jail phone call, it's on that same YouTube channel, the entire trial. So let's see what Brother Raj had to say.
Every day, women are black women every fucking day. Our women are being killed by men who say they love a JJ. You don't talk about that. We don't
talk about that. That's what I'm saying. And this is the thing. We will listen to a man talk about this before we listen. Okay. We will listen to a man talking about this before we listen to me talk about it. See, y'all will call me a feminist and a sympathizer, and I'm playing victim. But y'all victim blaming. Like I said, I ain't a victim. I'm a survivor, right? So by all right, being that I faced this situation before on both sides, I was in court just like Tory with some hoes saying I did some shit, even though he did what they said he did, which is why he got convicted. But in my case, they was stretching the truth. Nobody was injured when I popped off my gun. But when he popped off his gun, you know what I'm saying? He left evidence inside of that girl's feet.
Every day. Women are black women every fucking day. Our women are being killed by men who say they love a JJ. You don't talk about that. You don't talk that, brother minister, pastor, bishop. Y'all ain't talking about that. Yeah, my brother was gay and all that, but he wasn't hurting women. The women are being killed by men who say they love, P-U-S-S-Y. They love it, okay? And I can't stand that fag and all that. But you killing our women every fucking day. And
not just every day, 5 times a day. 5 times a day. And this is the issue. And again, I'm going to say this. I don't agree with him. You know, it's like he is, you know, talking about the homosexual men or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Like they not a problem or not. But this is the thing. This shit is a problem. And it is one of the very reasons, combined and coupled with the fact that, again, 1 out of every 6 of our boys are sexually assaulted before the age of 18, and 1 out of every 4 of our girls are sexually assaulted before the age of 18. With that being coupled with the fact that most women who are murdered by men or face a domestic violence situation or sexually assaulted aren't believed by the police, right? They aren't believed by their family members, which leaves this predator and this pedophile out here to do it again to more children. And I just told y'all about a case here in Detroit where a young man, when he was a young man, a 5-year-old girl told her parents what he did to her, and they did not believe her. So 20 years later, after this man created 3 daughters, he has 3 daughters, and he sexually assaulted all 3 of his daughters. And he just not in 2025 being convicted of sexually assaulting all 3 of his daughters, right? But if they had believed the 5-year-old little girl who told on him when he did this to her 30 years ago, he wouldn't have had the opportunity to do that to his 3 daughters.
And in front of their children, in front of your children.
Gotta go back. Fuck that.
Every day. Women, our black women, every fucking day. Our women are being killed by men who say they love the JJ. You don't talk about that. You don't talk that, brother, minister, pastor, bishop. Y'all ain't talking about that. Yeah, my brother was gay and all that, but he wasn't hurting women. You know, the women are being killed by men who say they love, P-U-S-S-Y. They love it, okay? And I can't stand that fag and all that. But you killing our women every fucking day. And in front of their children, in front of your children, in front of your children, and you're beating them every damn day. Every 8 hours, a woman is being killed. And that's across the board, not just black men, white, all of them. That's in men in general. But it definitely is happening among us. And you know, one thing, I love hip hop, but the one thing hip hop did not improve on, it didn't improve on anything in the black community, except you can get more millionaires who are rappers. But did it stop the violence? No. Did it stop the women being beaten and killed in front of it? No. Did it bring economic, I think, among where we are better as a people? No. So yes, it is $1 billion industry, but has it changed us for the greater as far as our morals, you know, as far as our conditions in every way, other than we can rap and outdo the other person? No. So when I hear these black people going on, and I saw some of your show, only not speak on that. Why don't you speak about the men who make a lot of these men gay, the pedophile, who again, this motherfucker loves the JJ too, but he also loves little boys and little girls. This motherfucker loves the JJ too, but he also loves little boys and little girls. And nobody talks about it. None of the ministers talk about that. None of the people I saw that was on your show, the gay thing. But are you not talking about the pedophile? Women, our black women, every fucking day. Our women are being killed by men who say they love the JJ. You don't talk about that. You don't talk that, brother, minister, pastor, bishop. Y'all ain't talking about that. Yeah, my brother was gay and all that, but he wasn't hurting women. You know, the women are being killed by men who say they love, P-U-S-S-Y. They love it, okay? And I can't stand that fag and all that. But you killing our women every fucking day. and in front of their children, in front of your children, in front of your children, and you're beating them every damn day. Every 8 hours, a woman is being killed. And that's across the board, not just black men, white, all of them. That's in men in general. But it definitely is happening among us. And unified. Todd Bridges his father went to his grave, not denying, not accepting his son's truth, but took the man's word, the pedophile friend who sodomized his son.
Okay, so Todd Bridges, that's from a different strokes. Willis and Arnold. Todd Bridges is Willis, and his dad's one of his good friends of his father was molesting him, and he told his father, and his father did not believe his own son, right? So again, that made way for that same man to sexually assault other children, right? Now let me explain something to you. A minor by law cannot give cannot consent to sexual. He can't give consent to an adult to, you know what I'm saying, do sexual acts to them. So if a child or someone who is a minor tells a R. Kelly or says yes to a R. Kelly, yes, I want to engage in sexual activity with you, is still against the law, because a child does not have those rights. A child does not have the right to give consent to sexual activity. So it's still a crime. That's why you have what's called statutory rape, right? And then under the age of 13, you know what I'm saying? That's pedophile activity. That goes beyond a Jeffrey Epstein and a Weinstein. I can't think of his first name right now. Oprah Winfrey homeboy, right? That, beat some of the charges, but the other charges, now all of a sudden he's so sick and he can't walk and he can't see good and shit. Now that you know what I'm saying, is being charged and convicted with this predator type of activity that he's participated in for decades, right? Because this is another thing that we got to address. A lot of times we'll say, well, why didn't this person speak up or that person speak up? In a lot of cases, these women and underage girls went to the police and told on a R. Kelly and told on a Harvey Weinstein, that's his name, and on a Jeffrey Epstein, right? And it took these police departments months and years and sometimes never press charges against a Harvey Weinstein and a Jeffrey Epstein and a Robert Sylvester Kelly. You understand? It took a massive amount of people, you understand, to actually come together and force them to charge these various individuals with these crimes that they have been committing for decades. And again, Robert Sylvester Kelly was also a victim. He was a victim. And it's alleged that the man who molested him paid his mother $5,000 not to tell the police that he molested her child. And she accepted the money, right? The same way a Kanye West is now coming out and admitting that he molested his own cousin, that he was giving fellatio to his own cousin because he found these pornographic magazines in his mother drawer and he wanted to reenact these acts, right? So now that Kanye West is crazy out his goddamn rabbit ass mind, running around here saying any and everything. Remember, a couple years ago, Kanye West was calling Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, aka P. Diddy. Kanye West was calling Sean Combs a fed. Now Kanye West is out here siding with P. Diddy. You understand? Saying that he's not guilty. So when you bring up, oh, Kanye West been exposing all this stuff for years to me, are you just as cool as him to take his side in any situation? Now, granted, I'm not saying that I don't have any sympathy for Kanye West in some of these situations, because the same way Kanye West rambled through his mom's personal items and found these pornographic magazines, I grew up doing the same thing, except I didn't act the shit out. You know what I'm saying? What we would do is when we would find the pornographic magazines, we would take them to school. You know what I'm saying? And show them to our friends and shit. So now we did expose some other children to this shit that we should have never been exposed to. Granted, I shouldn't have been going through my parents' things to find any things like that, but that's what children do. Children will ramble through your shit and find guns and everything. I can't tell you how many guns I found as a child and took to school when I was little. Like, we was wild like that. But I didn't shoot nobody with the guns. But again, I exposed other children to pornographic magazines. But the reason that I did that was because some of my other friends brought their parents' little pornographic magazines to school, and we would all look at them and laugh and shit. And I'm like, we got some stuff like that at my house too, so I brought it to school. The only difference was mine was like some little cartoon books, and they actually belonged to my mother boyfriend, who was a private investigator. He was a fucking cop, right? One of her boyfriends. So I got caught with the books, right? So I got excluded from school or suspended or whatever for like a couple days or whatever. And when my mother had to come to the school and they showed her what I brought to school, like I said, all of this stuff affects me, and I'm able to speak about it because I experienced a lot of it, right? But long story short, you know, my mother come to the school, they show her the pornographic books, the little comic books that I brought to the school, and they asked her if they were hers. And did she want them or whatever? Did she want them back or whatever? And she told them no, and know that they weren't hers, which she didn't lie, because they weren't hers. They belonged to her boyfriend. You see what I'm saying? No different than, I don't know how old, you know, the people who on the chat are, but it's a pornographic film called Debbie Does Dallas, right? And what's the guy name? His name Ron something. He's a real big pornographic star. And that was one of the first pornos that I ever saw, but I was a minor. I was an elementary minor when I saw that particular film. You know what I'm saying? So fast forward like 25 years later, as I'm going through the Dwight York, aka Malachi Z. York case, you see, which is also is not classified. You can get all the information about that case as well. But they made a mention. The Putnam County Police said that they found a copy of Debbie Does Dallas up under Dr. York's bed, right? So initially, when I first started going through his case or whatnot, and I saw that in the case, I laughed. Because in my head, I'm like, well, what man over 50 years old don't have a copy of Debbie Does Dallas? So initially, I thought the shit was funny. It wasn't until 2011 when I found out that not only did Dr. York molest all of these children, male and female, that he actually impregnated over 100 of those underage girls, right? And a lot of people will say, well, you know, those girls were of age when he penetrated them and he impregnated them. That's bullshit, because all you have to do is deduct the age of those children from the ages of their mothers, and you'll see that they was 13, 14, 15, and 16 years of age, which is a minor, which again, I just told you, a minor cannot give consent to sexual intercourse. That makes it illegal. That makes it unlawful for him to commit the acts that he committed on them children. And then I found out he gave a lot of those young women and underage girls and boys herpes, right? And I still could not admit to his guilt until the year of 2018. That's how fucked up in the head I was. You see what I'm saying? Because I followed Dr. York since 1992. 1991 and 1992 is when I found out who he was, and I began to be influenced by his literature and his lectures, right? So it was not, you cannot tell me anything negative about him. I believed all the stories about, well, Jacob set him up, his son Jacob, which is a bunch of bullshit. Whether or not Dr. York gave Jacob York money to further his career in the music industry, because he wasn't managing Junior Mafia and Little Kim and them, but he played a major role in their careers, as well as other hip hop artists, right? But you have to put yourself in the shoes of Jacob York, and you also have to thoroughly research that case to find out the things that I found out. And I will tell you, I cried many days and many nights about that fucking case, right? So once I was able to accept his guilt as of 2018, which I knew he was guilty starting in really, I'm going to put it like this. In 2006, when I first started researching what little information I had about the case, what I would say whenever somebody asked me about it or we had a discussion about it, I stuck to my guns for a long time. And what it was that I would say was, look, I'm not going to sit here and say he's not guilty, but I'm not going to say he is guilty either, because I don't know. And even once I was thoroughly convinced by way of the evidence, I still would not publicly admit that that nigga did the shit that he did. But as of 2018, oh yeah, I had no problem admitting that he was guilty. But the problem is he has hundreds of thousands of followers, and on an annual basis, thousands of more people who are just now being introduced to his lectures and his literature, which a lot of it is legitimate. I'm not going to sit here and say that every booklet or every scroll that Dr. York released is 100% factual, but a lot of it is factual because of where it came from, right? When he begins to talk about the Anunnaki and Kemet, what we call Egypt or Misraim or Tamaray, the source material that he used, you can read that yourself. You don't even have to read his fucking books, right? You don't have to read his books to find out about Marduk and Enki and Enlil and Ninti. You don't have to read his books. You can read the shit that he read to get the same knowledge that he acquired, right? And again, a couple weeks ago on one of the lives that I showed y'all, I showed you where Dr. York was against Kemet, or what we call Egypt, and he called it devil worshiping. Not only did he call it devil worshiping, he called Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark and all of them devils, and that they were teaching the people devil worshiping. But then he turns around 2-3 years later and teaches the same material. So if he this nigga from the planet Ritz from the 19th galaxy, why is it he can't click his heels 3 times and get up out that fucking prison? And why is it that he had to lie to the people and say that the reason that he turned around and started teaching the people about Kemet and went down at Georgia and built them pyramids and all of that is because his intention was to take the people through the various schools of thought? Well, if that's my intention, and I already know about Kemet, and I know about Sumer, aka the Anunnaki, and all of that, and I know all about Judaism and Islam, I'm not going to speak bad about the schools that I intend to teach you about in the future. That don't make sense. That make people incompetent for buying that shit. And not only that, this is a man who lied about his place of birth and who his parents are multiple times. And like I told you, Dr. York was born in fucking Boston, somewhere in fucking Massachusetts, but he lied to y'all and said he was born in Sudan, right? When you can look at his birth certificate and see that his mother is Mary York and his daddy is David York. So why would he lie to the people? Because the nigga is fucking schizophrenic. The fucking nutcase. And I, like many others, you understand? It was nothing that you could tell me about that nigga once upon a time. Once upon a time. But in this moment in time, the same way that Tory Lanez and R. Kelly and whoever the fuck else has to be accountable for their actions is the same way that he got them 100 and something years and he ain't never getting out. No matter how many lies y'all tell about him being a diplomat or him having a diplomatic status by way of Liberia. And they gonna get him out. And it's even people who lie and say that he's already out of prison. A bunch of lies. But again, once you tell one lie, like he did when he told y'all or told us he was from the 19th galaxy from the planet of Ritz, however you say that shit. And then he told y'all that, you know, his father was Sudanese, and you know what I'm saying? Same way he said that Ben York and Old York, and he was related to the Empress Verdiasi, peace be upon her, of the Washita, and he stole all her information. and stole all the National Divine Great Seal Moorish Movement information. You seen him with the war bonnet on. Then you seen him show up at court with the fez on, which again, that has stagnated all of our movements by us allowing snake ass niggas like that into the movement and putting them up on some type of fucking pedestal when they have sexually assaulted hundreds of women and children and given hundreds of women and children, well, I ain't gonna say hundreds, but given a nice amount of them underage girls and underage boys and adult women who were married to other men, but he would request to those men that those weak ass niggas, let him sleep with their wives, and y'all allow him to sleep with your wife, and now your wife got herpes from this man. This is why I go so hard, y'all. And you know what I'm saying? This is exactly why I go so hard, because this shit is happening every day, all day. And if I don't address it, and if you don't receive it in a way that you go and verify what I'm saying. You don't got to believe nothing I'm saying, even though I got every receipt under the moon needed to prove everything I'm saying to you. And I've done it in other broadcasts, right? And I'm going to continue to do it. But every broadcast that I do is not going to be focused on this particular topic. But this is the number one topic that I'm aiming at. Because again, us letting these niggas slide with doing the things that they're doing is the very reason that a high percentage of our women and children are LBTTQUPST confused. A lot of them are not. I'll say it again. A lot of these women and children are not homosexual. They're just being highly influenced by it, by way of the music, by way of damn near every television show and movie keep putting this shit in their face, and by way of the fact that Uncle Ray Ray raped them, Uncle Ray Ray sexually assaulted their mothers, Uncle Ray Ray sexually assaulted 3 or 4 of our cousins, and now one grandma, granddaddy, Reverend Pork Chop, or the police did a fucking thing about it, right? So now they have this disdain for men as to where they don't want to be with a man or they don't want to be a man. And this is a very serious issue because it goes against the grain of nature. And we as a people, once we start going against the grain of nature, what happens? We cease to exist. And this is what we are facing right now, which is why this is the number one topic that I do address. Like I said, I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor, right? I'm one of the little girls who mommy left down in Florida with her pedophile ass fucking husband, right? To come up here and check on her rental properties and leave me down there with this motherfucker. And I wake up to this nigga standing over me naked, rubbing on my motherfucking back, right? So when mama get home and she addressing him about what the fuck he did to me, I'm in the bathroom and I hear this nigga lying. And this is a story I never told before. I hear them in there talking about it, and he lying, saying that, he came in the room and I'm in a nightgown, and my nightgown is up to my neck, and my blanket is off of me. So he came to pull my nightgown down and put my fucking blanket back over me. Anybody that knows me to this day, since that shit happened to me, I have not wore a nightgown since, and I'm a grown-ass fucking woman. And when I sleep with the cool side quilt pulled up to my neck. You're not going to come in my bedroom or come in the living room and I'm sleep on the couch with a quilt, and the quilt is off of me and my whole ass is out. So when I heard him telling this lie, I kicked their bedroom door open and I started screaming and yelling, and they both jump on me. So I know this shit happens. And that's not the first time that something like that happened to me, right? But again, when at this time in my life, it was 1 in every 5 of our girls under the age of 18 has been sexually assaulted, a lot of times by family members. So in 2025, it's 1 in every 4 of our little girls have been sexually assaulted, and it's 1 in 6 of our little boys who have been sexually assaulted. And this comes by way of the ADA and the CDC and the police, whatever the fuck This is where these statistics come from. These statistics don't come from me. These statistics comes from what's being recorded. So imagine how much those numbers would increase if there were these women and little girls and little boys who we know don't speak about it and never told. So this is why your babies and your women is gay as fuck right now. And again, this is why I don't give a shit about YouTube not allowing me to monetize these videos that I do with this content, because I don't give a fuck. I'm not your blogger and I'm not your fucking free thinker. I'm your truth teller and I'm your scholar. That's where I'm at with this shit, right? I know that this shit is happening and continues to happen because we don't want to talk about it. And when it come out of women's mouth, we want to label that woman that, oh, you a feminist. I got a vagina. What the fuck else could I be? I'm not the Margaret Sanger feminist that's telling women to go to the clinic and go to a Planned Parenthood and kill their babies. I'm the feminist that's concerned about our women not wanting to be with our men because Uncle Ray Ray or they stepdaddy or somebody or they brother or they next door neighbor or they, and I'm not letting the women off either because a lot of you women ain't shit either because a lot of these women is out here sexually assaulting these little boys and little girls. I remember watching the SWV show some years back, and Lily from SWV, her daughter revealed to her that her babysitter, when she was 5 and 6 years old, which was a woman, was sexually assaulting her. Iceberg Slim, the pimp, in his book, he writes about his babysitter sexually assaulting him. And I wish I never heard about that already because that shit haunts me from what that man said. Anytime I think about it, that shit fucking haunts me. What the fuck happened to him? And you see, he grew up to fucking hate women and pimp women and put women on drugs and help kidnap little fucking girls and string them out on fucking heroin. This is the shit that happened in our parents' generation. I know personally because it happened to my fucking mother. This shit is a problem, y'all. This shit is a fucking problem. So you get people like me who know for a fact that these type of things have happened to our people and happened to our children, right? So you get somebody like me that's overprotective of her children, of her child, right? Very, very overprotective of my son. I admit that. The same way that my oldest nephew is accused of being overprotected of his children. But by all right, he should be, knowing the things that happened to his grandmother, his mother, and his auntie. And many of you need to be more protective of your children. I'm not telling you to be like me and be overprotective as to where you don't want to let them spend the night nowhere. You don't want to let nobody fucking babysit them, right? You would rather sell dope than to go out and get a fucking job because you don't want nobody babysitting your child for 8 hours. That's me. That's how I was, right? Because I know this shit is a fucking problem that gets ignored and it doesn't get addressed by Reverend Porkchop, grandma, mama, some uncles. You wonder why some of your uncles is gay? Some of your brothers is gay? If we start to face the reality that, again, 1 out of every 6 of our boys are sexually assaulted before the age of 18, like a Chris Brown. You wonder why he has some of the anger issues that he has? You wonder why R. Kelly did some, and I'm not saying that they should use that as an excuse, because if that was the case, I would be in their shoes, but I can never be in their shoes. Right is right and wrong is fucking wrong. Y'all mad because R. Kelly got 30 years or however many fucking years he got? It's because he ain't do it to your daughter or your fucking son. That's why the fuck you mad. You mad because Tory Lanez is locked up? That's because he didn't shoot your daughter, your niece, your sister, your mother. He can make music like Luther Vandross, but again, right is right and wrong is fucking wrong. You wonder why Luther Vandross was a homosexual? I bet $1,000 somebody did the same shit to him as a fucking child. And he probably never fucking told nobody. I didn't grow up to be one of those children because my mother didn't keep secrets from us, unfortunately and fortunately. It's like the gift and the curse. Things that happened to her as a baby, she told us about my whole life. I can remember my mother talking about things that you shouldn't talk to a 5 and a 6-year-old about, but she spoke to me about it. And she let me know if anybody ever does this, and I'm not even old enough to comprehend what she's saying to me. Although later on, like the situation I just explained to you that happened to me by way of her fucking husband, she didn't want to deal with the shit, but she dealt with it enough to get in his face and question him about what I said that he did. And being that my mother had those conversations with me as a child, as soon as he did it, I'm on the phone calling everybody in Detroit looking for my mama while I'm down there in Florida and telling my aunties what the fuck had happened to me. Right? He runs out the house when this shit happens. First of all, when he's touching my back, I'm one of them light sleepers. Anything wakes me up. I jump up and I stand up in the middle of the bed and I jump off the bed and I run into my younger brother's room and close the door and lock it. So when I did that, I could hear him scrambling and I can hear him pull off in the van leaving. So when he leaves, I go into my mother's bedroom. I get my mama I know where all the guns at. You know what I'm saying? I get the guns, the 12 gauge and the 38 special, and I hide them. You know what I'm saying? And the one friend that I had while I was living in Florida at that time, that was the last time we lived down there, I hit him up and I go down to his house and he had a Beretta 9mm and he gave me that. So I'm thinking I got 3 guns, right? So by the time I go back to my house, my mother's husband found the guns that I found and, you know, took them back or whatnot. And my mother, I had to wait for my mother to fly back down there or whatever. And that's when shit came to a fucking head. But I was always upset with my second oldest brother because when we made it back to Detroit, he didn't beat that nigga ass. He didn't move to Florida with us. He was a grown, you know, he was 18 with a child when we first moved to Florida. So he didn't leave with us. My oldest brother is disabled. So it's not like he was able to beat the nigga ass. And my baby brother is a baby, right? And my little sister is by my stepfather, right? So long story short, when we get back to Detroit and my brother don't do shit, like I had a disdain for him and a disrespect for him for years behind that shit. Because had that nigga got checked, once we made it back to Detroit, it's a 99% chance that I would have never caught the case that I caught after my mother passed, because that nigga would have knew not to be disrespecting as to be right down the street from us. You know what I'm saying? After my mother passed, and they were already separated. So for him to move down the street with the hood rats, you understand, and have them babysitting my little sister and him and my little sister living with them, mind you, he's a truck driver, meaning he may be home maybe 1 or 2 days out the week, every motherfucking week. Other than that, he's on the road. So you leave my little sister directly down the street from the home that she grew up in, and she can't come live with me, and I suppressed that shit until it became a fucking issue and I had to pop off. Like, I done been through some shit. And yet, no, I still came out on top because I ain't wanting for shit. I don't have to ask nobody for shit. And I got my own. I'm the landlord, like my mother was, how I was taught to be. I'm the fucking landlord. Ain't never had no landlord. I done always been the fucking landlord and the homeowner. Just is what the fuck it is. People don't give a fuck. They'll know that there's abuse going on within the household and nobody will say shit. And just let the shit go on. And then your babies grow up to be gay. And you know why. But being that it's the unspoken, nobody spoke about it. I don't watch this shit go on for generation after generation. I know grown ass women who their biological fathers did things to them. And they got uncles. But their uncles did shit to them too. And nobody never did shit. It took a neighbor to beat their daddy ass, right? Not saying no fucking names, but it is what it is. This shit is an epidemic within our communities. And if we don't address it, more of the babies and more of the women are not going to want to be women. And the little boys are not going to want to be little boys. And the little girls are not going to want to be little girls. They're going to want to be the predator, right? They're going to want to be the man. The little boys are going to want to be their mothers. And you can't say you don't see it. Can't say you don't see the shit. I barely go out. I'm a homebody. I love being at home. And I see it. I know what's going on. Currently, directly, I don't know of any neighbors because I would intervene. I would implement myself in that situation. This shit is unacceptable. Very. Shit is fucking crazy. From the plantation into our very own communities. Because if you ask me, that's where it started at. That's where it started at. Us being quiet about this shit. Ron Jeremy. Debbie Does Dallas. Yep. See, I know I ain't the only one. I know I ain't the only child who got in their parents' shit when I was little. My uncle, my mother's god brother, he stayed with us for a short time while he was going to school for technology or whatnot. And when I was little, we had HBO on and it all at the same fucking time. Everybody know what HBO is, but do you remember on and it? And you know, he used to get a whole lot of money with my parents back in the day, right? Before he decided to further his education. And he had like these big cardboard box full of VHS and beta tapes when we was little. And one big cardboard box had nothing but porno in it. One big cardboard box had nothing but horror films in it. One big cardboard box had all the other films and documentaries in them. And when he got his degree, he ended up working for Texas Instruments. If you don't know what Texas Instruments is, it was one of the biggest companies back in the day. They made the Speak and Spell and the Speak and Math, and help me out, y'all. Those type of electronic devices or whatever back in the day when we was kids. So he actually ended up relocating to Texas and, you know, became a rich guy again. He didn't have to, you know, sell them cakes to be the rich guy because he was very intelligent, right? So when I was little, we watched all of those movies. We had a VHS and a beta VCR when I was little or whatever. We had the old big screen TV in the basement with the big different color lights that went up against the screen, and that was our big screen TV back in the day or whatever. Almost like a projector, what a projector looks like today. You know what I'm saying? So I'm talking from the ages of 4 to about 7 or 8 years old. By the time I was 7 or 8 years old, I probably seen more porno movies than the average adult has seen, right? Because we was left by ourselves a lot, and we had access to all of this shit. We had access to guns. We had access to money. You know, I used to wear my mama minks and a rabbit fur coat to school and shit. Like, you know, we had too much freedom as children. But again, the way that our mother raised us and talked to us, I was already aware that if somebody touches me and I in an uncomfortable way and all of this shit, to come tell my mother. So I wasn't one of the children who you could do shit to and I not say nothing, right? It's just unfortunate that, again, later on in life, my mother found somebody that she married who, you know, she fuck with more than she fuck with her own child. And later on in life, before she passed over, like she realized that she was wrong in her fucking actions. And me and my mother start to bond and create the mother-daughter bond that I didn't have with her, you know, as a teenager or whatnot. You see? So, and you know, in my 21, 22, when she passed or whatnot, like I said, we began to become really close, but she passed like less than 2 months of us actually bonding and her admitting to me different things that she was wrong about, right? After they weren't divorced, her and her husband had separated or whatnot. And I was able later on to gain the respect back for my second oldest brother, who I expected to whip this nigga ass when we got back from Florida, because I found out that he did try to beat this nigga ass. It wasn't about me, it was about my mother. So shit just crazy. I know how the shit go. You know what I'm saying? I know that my mother's father, he only had one brother. And that brother introduced my mother to her first husband, who my mother was 19 when she got married the first time. And her husband was like 36. But her uncle was in his 40s, and that was his best friend. And that's how my mother met him. Now, you would say, well, 19 and 36, that's not that big of an age difference. Yes, the fuck it is. My mother should have been with somebody her own fucking age. So to me, to a certain degree, that nigga, you know what I'm saying, was a lightweight pedo. You gonna marry 18, 19-year-old girl and you damn near 40. Like, I seen a lot of shit, y'all. And one thing I can say for sure, and my mother said this my entire life, like if the phone rung, you know what I'm saying, and it was necessarily some people that she wouldn't talk to, she wouldn't let me answer the phone. She wouldn't let me answer the door because she said I didn't know how to lie. I was a terrible liar. And I carried that off into adulthood. I'm not a good liar, and I don't like to lie. Therefore, in order for me to tell a lie, it has to be life or death. It got to be me lying to the police. Outside of that, I'm not about to fucking lie. I'd rather face the consequences of telling the fucking truth. That way I don't have to lie again and make up another lie and try to remember the last fucking lie I told. I'd rather be accountable for whatever the fuck I did. Any wrongdoing that your ass has done, don't put me in that shit. Because you're going to be able to read right through my goddamn life. You asking me to lie for you. And it carried on. My god sister can tell you right now, she wouldn't ask me to lie about shit. Because I'm a horrible fucking liar. So why put myself through that? But again, it's easy to get online and on social media and lie because you don't have to be accountable for that shit. Unless you only kicking it online with people who live in the same city you live in, and we can pull up on your ass. Good for the pull up. I come up from a pull up family. Pull up family. The same way I end up catching the case based off of motherfuckers disrespecting my mother's memory is the same case that my daddy caused his first case. A nigga disrespecting my mama while my mother was pregnant with me. I want all of our children to be protected the way that I was throughout various eras of my childhood. I wasn't protected 0 through 18. I was not. But some of them years when my daddy wasn't locked up, and one of my mama boyfriends was talking about whipping me, and I paged my daddy. Y'all remember them round pages back in the day before we had the sweet ones? My daddy pulling up. But unfortunately, through many of my years as a minor, my pop was in prison. So I didn't have that protection. And when you take a child, a little girl, and you move her all the way down to buttfuck Florida somewhere, you eliminate all my protection because I don't have nobody down there to protect me. What was down there was his family defending him for what the fuck he did to me. And that aggression that I took out on them females the day I got arrested, that was really meant for his motherfucking ass. I stood on the porch many days watching him get in his 18-wheeler. I stood on the porch pointing a gun at that nigga from across the fucking street with tears in my fucking eyes. I wanted to kill him many days. Imagine wanting to kill your younger sister father. And imagine having to forgive him, which I did not get the opportunity to do before he passed over. But again, this is why you don't hear me saying shit like God bless the dead. It depends on who it is. When you say you shouldn't talk bad about the dead, if it's somebody who has died that was a pedophile, does that apply to them? Fuck no, not in my book. Like I said, there's many people who I wish I could dig up and fucking kill again. It's a fantasy like guy in 1989, 88. It's just a fantasy. But I'd be damned if I, you know what I'm saying, forgive somebody who don't deserve to be forgiven. And what they did doesn't deserve to be forgotten. I've read enough psychology shit to understand that, as they say, forgiveness is for you or for the victim, not for the predator, right? But again, everybody doesn't deserve forgiveness. I don't serve the gods that I serve. Damn, we don't rock with that shit. Everybody don't deserve forgiveness. A lot of people deserve to get their motherfucking ass beat. They deserve to be in a prison doing 10, 20, 30 and doing fucking life and getting stabbed 14 fucking times. They don't deserve you to be paying homage to them or their memory. So we got to come up with some recourse and some remedy around here, y'all, so that we don't have generation after generation of more of our women and children becoming LOPTQUFG confused based off of the fact that they out here not being believed and their predator being fucking supported, right? They mama telling their daughter, don't talk about that, or oh no, he ain't do that. And the next thing you know, not only is he doing this to your daughter or did it to your daughter, he also doing it to your son. This is what's happening at more than just an alarming rate. A lot of these police need to go to jail too, right? Not just because police officers commit suicide at an alarming rate, or women beaters and this is another thing I was raised on when I was young. My mother always told me not to get involved with never date a police officer and never marry a police officer, because they are alcoholics, women beaters, and they are prone not to just commit suicide, but they will kill their wife, their children, and then kill themselves. So as I say this to you, go Google the shit. This is my mother talking to me at the ages of 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and on up. And the way these conversations would start is they would say, when I was little, if the front of your shirt got wet when you wash dishes, that means you was gonna marry an alcoholic, right? So as my mother would have that conversation with me, she would talk to me about never dating or marrying a police officer. So as a grown ass woman, I'm having these thoughts of what mama said. And one day I just Googled that shit. Like, I want to say 2006, 2007, to look up the statistics of the amount of police officers who commit suicide and, have are alcoholics and woman beaters, have a lot of domestic violence charges. And police, there's statistically their amount that commits those type of violent crimes, you wouldn't believe it. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure I'll pull the statistics up while on one of these broadcasts throughout the years, because this, again, these are things that I often think about, right? Especially when you know something is true versus something that, you're not, you haven't verified that information. This is information that I verified because it was told to me as a child often. And I was curious, not that I was doubting my mother, but I was very curious as to the amount of police officers who actually commit suicide or kill their whole family and commit suicide and, face alcoholism and, commit domestic violence, woman beaters. And that shit is true. Not to mention, I have quite a few people who, thanks God, who are police officers. One of my best friends growing up, she's a cop, right? She's not one of the police that do none of the shit that I just mentioned, but I know she can verify a lot of the stuff that I'm saying. One of my good friends, his best friend is a cop, right? And his wife is a cop. And they both, had alcohol problems. They both suffered alcoholism, and they both used to beat the fuck out of each other and pull guns on each other. And these are police officers that I'm talking about. They both was in Desert Storm. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got issues. They got mental issues. And you can best believe a child who grows up facing sexual abuse ends up as an adult with a lot of trauma, and a lot of them are mentally unstable, which meant, for the most part, all of us, you know what I'm saying, deal with mental issues, but not to the severity of, you acting it out on other people. A lot of us keep that shit harnessed inside, so it only harms us because we never get the opportunity to let it out and deal with that trauma. And I seen that happen enough growing up to know that regardless to what happens to me, I'm gonna have to deal with this pain, because if I don't, I'm gonna explode. And a lot of times, those emotions, when they have flared up on me, is because somebody is fucking with me. So whoever caught that wrath deserved it, because I've never been a shit starter. I'm very introverted. If I look at a movie, I prefer it to be a comedy. Like, I don't run around fucking with people. I was always the one who, if somebody was messing with somebody, they came and got me. Especially when we was kids, because they knew I had access to pistols. So if it was bigger kids messing with some of the kids that was my age, they would come get me. I would go get mama pistols and daddy pistols, and I wouldn't shoot nobody, but you can imagine 5 and 6 little 10, 11, and 12-year-olds running up on 16 and 17-year-olds with pistols. They not gonna mess with them kids no more. And these are facts. Unfortunately, these are facts. It's a couple people right now who have defended me when we was little, and who I defended as well, that are unfortunately right now doing life bids because they grew up to be hitmen. You know what I'm saying? So some of the protection that I used to have, I actually don't have now. But again, I'm not worried about nobody or no team, right? At all, because I don't fuck with people. My only worry is my nieces, my nephews, my son, somebody being disrespectful to them. And you know what I'm saying? You're not going to be able to stop me. Because the children and my family are nothing like how I was growing up. So they don't deserve, and when I say that, I'm just saying they not exposed to what I was exposed to, the violence. The middle school that I went to, Brooks Middle School on West Chicago, here in Detroit, every day when we came out that side door, that front door of that school, It was 3 police cars already parked on the grass because we used to fight every day. This is middle school. This junior high school. This is not high school. I'm not talking about Cody. I'm talking about Brooks Middle School. The police would already be outside because they knew we was about to be thumping. And it would actually be kids from Cody High School, from Drew Middle School, from Mackenzie, who would come to my middle school because we had beat the fuck out their little brother or their little sister. So they would come up there with their baseball bats and shit to beat up some little 6th and 7th graders. Because in 7th grade, later on is when we moved to Florida. So I wasn't there all of 7th grade and 8th grade. I was in Florida. So I know what it is. I know exactly what it is. And, you know, like I say, the kids, the children, and my family now, they weren't raised like how I was raised. So if anybody messed with them, I know they didn't pick a fight with nobody. I know they didn't threaten nobody, and I know they didn't put their hands on nobody. So I'm always go to bat for them. Unfortunately, none of that has happened. I guess they know not to mess with them royal kids. And royal kids got uncles and aunties and parents that'll pop off for them. Well, I think that need to be about it, y'all. We do this again tomorrow, and for real, make it known that everything that I expressed this evening needs to be not just discussed, but we have to come up with some type of remedy. We have to come up with a Black Panther pedophile clique. You know what I'm saying? Where we go around, whatever it is, I'm with it. I'm 100% with it. There's too many of our babies out here. Like I said, you got little boys and little girls in junior high school holding hands and kissing the same sex. I never experienced that in middle school or high school when I was growing up. So for me to walk into a restaurant and see 2 little girls who are in the 7th, 8th grade holding hands and kissing, I know exactly what it is and how it came about. These babies are not coming out being attracted to the same sex. They're being influenced by it. And a lot of them, again, when we look at those statistics, they have been violated in their lifetime. Sometimes by the same sex. But a lot of times it's by Uncle Ray Ray and them. So with that being said, they don't trust men on both sides. The little boys who face Dwight York don't trust men or don't want to be a man. Especially when you're talking about somebody like a Dwight York, aka Malachi Z. York, who has hundreds of thousands of followers. And when a child knows that, do you think a child would feel comfortable going to tell their father that this man did this and that? The same father who let Dr. York have sex with his wife. Or Reverend Porkchop, who did the same thing. Pastor pimping, imam, rabbi, Father John. We need the statistics on how many of them are pedophiles. You know them numbers is high, right? And it's even more higher when we talk about the Catholics, right? Catholicism, the Catholic people in the cathedral or whatnot. Because the priests get away with it. You know why the priests get away with pedophilia? It's called the ecclesiastical clause. They use an ecclesiastical clause in court to be pardoned for molesting little boys and little girls. And a lot of people were saying that Sean Combs, aka P. Diddy, was molested as a child. And many of us, you know, a lot of my friends, even my parents, went to Catholic school. Not throughout their whole life, thank the ancestors, but we started talking about St. Martin de Porres. What is the one that used to be on Plymouth that they closed down? Bishop Borges on Plymouth, just east of Telegraph Road. A lot of these Catholic schools, man, I don't know. People say, you want to talk? You sent your son to private school. You sent them to Jesu and whatnot. Yeah, because I was under the influence of, we gonna send my son to Jesu, and then after that he gonna go to Liggett University, right? Because the boy smart. Had him reading and writing over 200 words by the age of 3. So of course I didn't want my child to go to a public school. So we started talking about Country Day and Cranbrook, and I already said Liggett University. These are premier educational institutions that rich people send their children to. And unfortunately, sometimes those children end up victims. Again, only for that priest to get away with that pedophile shit, because there's a such thing as an ecclesiastical clause. CLAUSE clause, ecclesiastical clause. I'm glad that I was able to get some of that stuff off my chest. And again, whatever remedy or recourse that we can come up with, bring it to my attention. And the same way, you know, I was able to help a lot of people out over the past 21 years with various CPS cases and things of that nature. We gonna make it happen for the babies. For sure. For sure. We got to. Again, we have to. We gonna cease to exist fucking around with letting these pedophiles and these predators get away with this behavior, you know, combined with the passport boys running away from their own women. We gonna cease to exist around here. For real. You gotta get on these various television networks and shit about exposing our babies to all of this homosexual shit. And we would like to blame the Democrats as if the Republicans don't support those agendas and accept finance from some of these people with these homosexual agendas, because the Democrats and the Republican Party both participate in this shit. I showed y'all Trump carrying the rainbow flag, but he's a flip-flopper. He was down in 2016 for the homosexuals, the LBTHI LMNOP, but now he done switched it up and say he against it, but he was just for it. I ain't buying none of that shit. Not when Hillary Rodham Clinton is your cousin, whom you never locked up. The same way you didn't make Mexico pay to build that wall. You said you was going to lock that bitch up, and you did not put her in prison. Whether or not the Pizzagate thing is a fact or not, and I say whether or not it's a fact or not because I was never able to locate viable sources. Only thing I was able to locate was a bunch of internet shit that was pieced together by people who hated one party or the other party, or people who were rooting for Obama or rooting for Trump or whoever the fuck. And I don't try. I have to have solid evidence before I say something is a fact. I'm not doing that because that makes me a liar, and I'm not a liar or a lawyer, right? So we not gonna do that. We gonna gather the facts, gather the resources, and we work from there. Don't bring me no fake shit. Because when you do, and I attempt to verify the information and I find out that it's some satire or, you know what I'm saying, some propaganda or whatever, I'm going to let it be known that that's what it is. Now, you making a choice not to accept it, it lets me know that you are incompetent, you fake as hell, understand, because you're not able to accept the facts that are given and you're more comfortable with the lies. I'm not comfortable with the lies. The lies are the problem. And the people who lie are the bigger problem. They ain't on your team. This nigga Trump ain't on your team. Tory Lanez ain't on your team. Kanye motherfucking West ain't on your team. Even P. Diddy, whether he's guilty or not, because I do believe that he gonna beat that case. I've been saying that shit for a long time. When it first jumped off without any evidence or anything, or even knowing anything outside of him whooping on Cassie ass, I always said that because him being who he is, he might be able to slither out of that shit. The same way he slithered out of that murder and old boy did 10 years. Shine. He ended up being the one going to prison, and Diddy end up, you know, being able to go home and find him another girl other than Jenny from the block. Right? That's just how it go. And all of this blaming, you know, we going, instead of blaming the predator, we good for blaming the fucking victim. I've seen that play out multiple times. There's people right now, peace be upon her, who will drag Aaliyah before they drag R. Kelly. Luckily, I'm from the D and we ain't buying that shit. So anybody from the D who is going to drag Aaliyah and praise R. Kelly, we get at you. Don't say it ain't happened, because it done happened. We not buying that shit. That girl was 15 when he impregnated and married her. It was against the law for him to have intercourse with her, and it was definitely unlawful for him to marry her and impregnate her and forge, make, you know, have fake ID made for her. And this shit still goes on. And it's unspoken of. See, niggas would rather talk about how, yeah, R. Kelly was banging her mama too. What the fuck that got to do with him being a pedophile? And does that make him it okay that he did that to her because he allegedly was having sex with her mother? It makes her mother a terrible fucking person. Huh? But it don't make him innocent. The same way, because, okay, Megan Thee Stallion had a sexual, had an intimate relationship with Tory Lanez, but does that make that okay that he shot her? Or because she lied to Gail King about having a sexual relationship with Tory Lanez, does that make it okay that he shot her? We was quick, like I said, we was quick to take up for Kobe Bryant. When Gail King asked Lisa Leslie about Kobe Bryant graping the white girl in Colorado and admitting that he had sex with her to the point of buying his wife a 4-carat ring. But after he passed and Gail King brought it up to Lisa Leslie on national television, we all had a problem with it. But when she asked Megan about, while Megan is telling the story about how this nigga shot her, and Gail King asked her, well, did you have a sexual relationship with Tory Lanez? We ain't get on Gail King about that. Well, I'm getting on Gail King about that, bitch. That ain't your business. And it couldn't have been me, because I wouldn't have been like Megan. I wouldn't have lied. I would have just cussed that bitch out. Period. In all honesty, whether or not she had an intimate relationship with Tory or not, that ain't our business. What he do with his penis and what she do with her vagina ain't our business. What's our business is a man with testicles who's supposed to be protecting a woman that he's accompanying. He didn't do that. He shot her. I take issue with that. I don't take issue as to whether or not she had a sexual relationship with the guy. That's not our business. And I wouldn't have shit to say about what he did if it weren't so many people capping for this nigga right now. But realize they not capping for him because they care whether or not he get out of prison or get a pardon. They online doing it to gain a following and a check. That's it. Corey Holcomb obviously don't give a fuck about black women. And many of these other celebrities. Right? And again, the only one that I know of that has apologized for dragging Megan is 50 Cent. And that was the video we were supposed to look at before I left. So we'll come back and do that tomorrow, y'all. It already been 3.5 hours. And this could be a 3-day show. I could sit here and talk about this for another 72 hours. Y'all waited them 30, but y'all, nobody should have a problem if I sat here for 72 hours and talked about this topic. Because all of y'all waited 36 hours for Anna Paulina Luna to come with that new evidence she said she was going to drop on y'all in 36 hours that she never dropped. She out this bitch strategizing for the next election, and y'all out here being big dum-dums, hugging this nigga nuts. Let him get his nuts hugged up and while he incarcerated. Let him get them nuts hugged up there. You know what I'm talking about? And shout out to the brother Bun B and Willie D from the Ghetto Boys, because them the only other two cats I done seen back Megan. Granted, they from Texas, they from Houston, just like her, so they supposed to back her. But secondly, they supposed to back her due to the fact that she's a woman who was assaulted by a man unnecessarily. I'm sure she was not trying to fight that man. She might have been able to whoop his ass. If her and the girl Kelsey had joined teams, they could have probably took his ass. But not by herself. I don't care how tall she is. A woman ain't beating no man. Unless you are a skill like a Clarissa Shields or some shit like that. And it's a lot of men her size that will whoop Clarissa Shields' ass. Based on the fact that physically, you were made by the great mother and the great father to be stronger than a woman because you was put here to be her protector. Not to beat on her. Not to sexually assault her or her babies. You was put here to protect her and secure her. Therefore, when you are in a position where you might be sick or ill or something like that, and you can't protect her and your children, so she will willingly step up to protect your ass and her babies because you are not physically able at a particular time in which to do it. But being that you have protected and secured that women and children for however long before you physically weren't able to it, your woman will step up and protect and secure you and your children. But right now, your children and your women are being influenced and they are homosexually confused right now because of the fact that they have went on for so long without being protected and secured. And this is a fact. Now, if you are fortunate enough to not know any women or underage minors who haven't faced what I just sat here and poured my heart out about, then you are very fortunate. But at the same time, it don't mean it don't exist. And I would be, it would be hard to believe that you don't know anybody who faced any of the travesties that I just spoke on, because it runs that rapid throughout the United States of America, especially in our communities. I'm not concerned with anybody else's communities. That ain't my fucking business what happened to them. As long as they don't bring that shit over here. That ain't my business. That's how I feel about that. So this is where me and Ernest Lee Thompson, I keep calling him Thomas, disagree. It ain't like he went too far off board, but when he started talking about hip hop and he started talking about, you know, for the most part, that the LGBTQ people or whatever aren't the people who are predominantly doing this to our children, yeah, that can be true, but you know, he didn't have to sugarcoat anything, which I don't feel like he did. He's speaking from his experience the same way I'm speaking from mine. All right, y'all. With that, I say peace. Y'all have a good one.
Supreme.
Shock.
They say I'm dope, I said I'm smoke, fire, blowing air, carbon, earth, solid, water, wet. I'm steady beat, a sister soldier that dies effects. So gone with all that hoopla and rah-rah, unless you talking about Atun, Namuna, Amara, pineal glands, all seeing eyes. We call the third eye, we came to build, not pay your bill. Sling them in municipality, city seals like roadkill, descendants of ancient mound builders. Not supposed to need encyclopedias, genetically encoded with 720. We got amnesia, claiming we Christian cretins in love with Yahweh, Muhammad, and Jesus, but you was living inside of God when you was a fetus. But believers and never believers, non-believers, cause we don't be lying, shaking hands and taking oaths.